We are live on Rumble. Good morning. We are live on YouTube. Good morning. We are live on X. Good morning. Is that true? Yes, we're live on X. We're live on Facebook. Good morning. We are live on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is working today. We're live on Instagram. Good morning. We are live on TikTok. Are we active on TikTok? We are active on TikTok. Good morning, Courtney. Good to see you here early as usual. Today we're going to talk about, it's actually going to be a bigger picture conversation. We're going to use the frame of the NFL draft to talk about what we actually want to talk about here today, which is racial idolatry, which is something that I've found is a big thing, a very rampant thing in the Black community in the United States. And even if you're not Black, you need to understand this because it will, or it already has found its way to your front door, even if you're not Black. More reasons to good morning to you over there on Instagram. That's the topic here today. Again, we're going to talk. The topic again is racial idolatry, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what that means, where it comes from, why this is a thing, why it matters, and why everybody, even those of you who are not Black, need to understand this. And those of you who are Black, you very much need to understand it. And you need to make sure that you are not afflicted with it. That's the topic here today. So the reason that I'm talking about this, because there's a lot of topics to talk about right now. Like I could do another hour or two talking about Mr. Shannon Sharpe. For y'all, those of y'all who follow the Shannon Sharpe story, that's the guy who used to play in the NFL, works on it. The ESPN network has his own podcast. Y'all saw he got caught up with some OnlyFans girl, and OnlyFans girl sued him for $50 million. He offered her $10 million to shut up. She didn't take the $10 million. And we talked about that a little bit for each of the last 2 days. Just yesterday, Shannon Sharpe announced that he's taking a quote-unquote leave of absence from ESPN. For those of you who don't know how the corporate world works, he did not take a leave of absence. That was not a voluntary decision. They made it seem like it was a voluntary decision, but it really wasn't. This is what happens in corporations in situations like that with a public-facing figure when you did something you weren't supposed to do, or they want to get rid of you, but they want you to save face. What they'll do is say, hey, you can just step down and say it this way, you can frame it in this way, and we won't announce that we're firing you. What happened with Shannon Sharpe is that ESPN's folks said, because there's a morality clause in the contract. I already explained this all to you all. The morality clause in the contract is that ESPN could fire this guy. They maybe don't necessarily want to, and Shannon's lawyers are fighting back because if he gets fired for cause, then they don't owe him any more money. He wants to collect his money, so his lawyers are trying to fight. So right now, while they do the fighting is going to happen all summer. I'm recording this in late April. So we got May, June, July. He announced on his post that I plan to be back by the preseason of the NFL. NFL preseason is around August, right? So he's basically about to take the next 100 days off. During that 100 days, he said, I'm going to take the next 100 days to fight these allegations against me and spend time with my family. Mofo, you got lawyers. What are you going to be doing? All right, what are you doing 8 hours a day if you already got lawyers to fight the allegations? You ain't doing anything. You're not arguing. And if you have been in a legal case, you don't say anything. You just got to show up and sit there while your lawyers do all the talking. What exactly is he doing? He's not doing anything. So that doesn't even make any sense when you logically understand how the legal system works. What he's doing over these next 100 days, for y'all to understand what Shannon Sharpe couldn't say, but what's actually happened is that his lawyers and ESPN's lawyers are about to fight for the next 100 days over how much money he's going to get bought out for because he's about to get fired from ESPN. That's about to happen. He's getting fired from ESPN. It's just a matter of how much money they're going to give him, how much they're going to let him save face, or do they really want to go to the mattresses with this and try to fire him and not have to pay him any money? That's what they're battling over right now. So in case any of you couldn't translate what Shannon Sharpe said, that we could have a whole conversation about that. That's not even the topic we're going to talk about here today, but we are going to cross-reference the NFL, which we are going to talk about here today. So I could do a whole thing on that Shannon Sharpe thing. That's one that is still pending, and we will come back to that subject. Number two is I still want to do the student loan forgiveness thing because that has been a topic. But being that I have a background in sports and I noticed these things, the Shannon Sharp thing kind of took precedent. And number three, what we're actually going to talk about is what happened at the NFL draft last night. Not really the NFL, because football is not even the main sport that I pay the most attention to. But what we're going to talk about is the racial idolatry and how the NFL actually put it on the front page yesterday. Actually, the NFL didn't, excuse me. The fans did because of what happened at the NFL draft, which is a big event. NFL draft is probably, I guess, the second biggest event in football other than the Super Bowl, because this is when people are saying who's the next generation. The NFL draft is the biggest draft in all of sports. They even spread it out to how many days is the draft now? Was it like 4 days? The draft used to be all in one day. Now they're doing the whole thing. I think it's like 4 days to draft. So the first day is just the first round. There's only 32 teams, 32 picks all happen on the first day. Then the second day, and no, it didn't used to be 1 day. It used to be 2 days. But now they spread it out. Now I think it's 4 days now. How many days is the NFL draft? Anybody know the answer to that? How many days is the NFL draft now, the new draft? I think it used to be 2 days, but now it's like 3 or 4, something like that. So anyway, the NFL draft is a big deal. And it's 3 days now? Okay. So the NFL draft just happened. And this quarterback, and this is the topic here today, his name is Shedeur Sanders. So all of you know it's 3 days. Okay. So it used to be 2, now it's 3. So this guy's name is Shedeur Sanders. He's a quarterback. He played at the University of Colorado. He transferred he played at, what was he at? Excuse me, Jackson State with his dad, Deion Sanders. Hall of Fame football player. And then he's a quarterback. Deion Sanders was his coach in high school. He was his coach in college, everywhere he played in college. He just finished at Colorado or left Colorado to go to the NFL draft. Everyone was expecting him to be this high-level pick. He didn't get picked in the first round, so everybody's talking about this. And what I saw, the banter I saw on social media from last night, which I mostly saw this morning, was a whole bunch of black folks specifically, including Deion Sanders himself, Shedeur's father, Deion Sanders himself, making it seem as if people are somehow, some way going against his son just because either A, it's his son, B, because his dad is Deion Sanders, or C, because his son is quote unquote rich and successful and wealthy and confident, and all these other nonsense things that people are saying as rationalization copes for what happened with Deion Sanders' son at the NFL draft yesterday, which is that he wasn't chosen. He'll probably get chosen on the second day, somewhere in the second round. And hey, maybe he'll turn out to be a great player. Maybe he won't. We won't know until he actually gets on the field, which is several months away. That's not even the topic that we're specifically talking about here today. It's really about the racial idolatry that I see very, very rampant amongst black people. And this needs to be addressed. Again, I've addressed this before. I'm going to address it again. And as a matter of fact, speaking of such, this racial idolatry, I saw an example of this actually from a white guy who a lot of people were correcting me saying this guy's not actually white. He's actually a J. And I guess J and white are not the same thing. News to me. It became recently news to me was this guy down in Texas. Y'all remember this Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf situation where the black kid stabbed the white kid at a high school track meet and the white kid died. And then it became this whole thing. What was this guy's name? Jake Lang. This white guy named Jake Lang. Have y'all seen this guy? He did I guess, what do you want to call it? A rally down in Texas where this thing happened. He did a rally in Texas basically called Protect White America. I did a whole live stream on this, I believe, last Friday, where I was talking about this guy. And he is trying to do racial idolatry for white people. He said, well, black people did it when something happened to a black person like George Floyd. I'm going to do it for white people. The problem is it failed with white people. This guy, Jake Lang, this whole situation failed with white people because very few people showed up to his rally and he didn't get people to follow behind him. One main reason, because Jake is not a leader. He does not have leadership tools. Being a leader does not just mean that you go and say you're going to do something and talk really loud, which is what Jake very well does. Being a leader means you got to get people to actually want to follow you. He can't do that because he doesn't really have leadership skills. But anyway, we will probably come back to that conversation when there are new developments in that case down in Texas. So as you can see, we got a lot of coals on the fire, so to speak. But let's get into the topic we're going to talk about here today. Let me introduce myself first. And by the way, I'm going to take questions and comments at the end. So if you have anything, just hold it till I'm done. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 41 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I own this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we help professional service-based entrepreneurs systematize, strategize, and scale their businesses to the 6- and 7-figure level. You can learn more about that at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Find out more about who we help, who we have already helped, and how you could be the next person who we do help. Again, that's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. There's links to that in whatever profile or bio that you are watching me on. I'm on 7 different platforms right now: YouTube, Rumble, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So you see me looking at different cameras just because I just want to at least briefly acknowledge each audience. So Shedeur Sanders didn't go in the first round, and I saw a lot of black folks on social media, at least they appeared to be black. On social media, you never really know, but they appeared to be black, saying that, oh, the only reason that he didn't get chosen is because people don't like Shedeur for 3 reasons. The main 3 reasons they're saying about Shedeur. Number one, because his dad is Deion Sanders. So what some people are trying to say is that people hate Deion Sanders. He stopped playing. I don't know when he stopped playing. He stopped playing a long time ago. Deion Sanders is like 50, 60 years old. So people hate Deion Sanders. So that means they didn't draft his son. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Deion Sanders was my first favorite athlete. Back when I first started playing sports, I played a little bit of baseball and tried to play football, but never seriously played football. Deion played football and baseball and was very great at football. He's my first favorite athlete. And did he get some backlash to his style back when he played? Yes, he did. But did anybody hate him? No, I'm not quite so sure. Were people saying that? Not really, because we didn't have social media. And Deion was actually a superb NFL player. I think he was like a top 5 pick when he got drafted. He's a Hall of Famer in the NFL. Many people argue he's maybe the best ever at his position. And even people who don't think that, nobody puts him outside of the top 5 ever in the history of his position. Nobody's saying that about his son. They're not saying his son can't play at all, but he's not there. Anyway, and his son doesn't have his dad's athleticism. We do know that. So people are saying, number one, they're not drafting Shedeur, or they're quote unquote hating on Shedeur because his dad is Deion Sanders. Number 2, they're saying that people don't like him because he's a black guy who already has money, because Deion Sanders has money and Shedeur Sanders, he's in and played in college, and I'm sure he has some name, image, and likeness deals, and he probably made a good amount of money himself as an NFL player. So he wears I guess a Rolex watch he would often put on after the game. He would hold his watch up to the crowd. I guess that was his thing that he decided to do. Let me hold up my watch to the crowd to just show you that I'm that guy because I got a watch. I don't know what that's about. And then he wear a whole lot of jewelry. He just wears all this jewelry, similar to what his dad did back when his dad was playing. His dad would wear all this jewelry and be real flashy, et cetera, et cetera. Difference between Shedeur Sanders and his dad is that his dad was supremely more gifted talent-wise than his son is. His son is good. I mean, he's a Division I quarterback, and he's about to get drafted to the NFL probably today, but he ain't quite the talent that Deion Sanders was. The apple didn't fall far from the tree, but it did fall from the tree. So this is what people are saying about Shedeur, number 2. And there was a third thing. I can't remember what it was. So basically, they're hating on him because he's black, and they're hating on him because he's already rich, quote unquote, and because they don't like Deion Sanders. A couple things that we need to lay bare here. I already told you, Deion was my first favorite player. And this whole thing about Deion, people not liking Deion, so they're not going to draft the son, doesn't make any sense for one very specific reason. My background is in sports. And what you all need to understand about sports, those of you who have not played or you're not a big fan or follower of sports, is that sports is a performance and a results-based business where everything is judged by the scoreboard. Everything is judged by the scoreboard. What does that mean? And I've explained this many times. Yesterday, we were talking about the corporate world, and here I'll juxtapose that to the sports world. In the corporate world, you can be really, really good at what you do, and if people personally don't like you, you can get held down, held back, kicked out, outsourced, and never really get your shot if people personally don't like you in the corporate world. Any of you who works in a bureaucratic environment, please put the word cosign in the comments if you have ever seen this. Maybe you've even experienced it. That you knew you were good at what you did. You could actually prove that you were good at what you did. The stats and the facts were right there. But because certain people didn't like you, or you had pissed off the wrong person, or you didn't have the right relationship with the right person, you got kind of held back and not allowed to flourish as well as you could in the corporate world. Any of you ever seen that or had that happen, put cosign. So a bunch of you are saying that you've had that happen. So all of you know exactly what I'm talking about here. So I see you all in there. Sadidi. I see you, Tara. I see you, Deputy Dog, Stacy D, Nita, Carla. Good morning to you, Phyllis Green. So a bunch of you have had this happen. It's Ant, Kendall Rucker. So a bunch of you have had this happen. So all of you know what I'm talking about. In the corporate world, this happens all the time because it's more about who likes you. It's very political. Let's just put it that way. Politics is about who you like, who likes you. How do you like them? Do you have a solid relationship with the right people? And how many of you have also seen, let me ask for another cosign on this one. How many of you have also seen somebody who wasn't even that good. We're talking corporate bureaucratic worlds, any kind of bureaucracy. So I saw somebody in there mention the military, same thing, any kind of bureaucratic environment. You saw somebody who wasn't even that good, but they kept moving up, getting promotions, making money they shouldn't be making, having positions that they shouldn't have, just because they knew the right person and they had the right relationship with somebody who had power. Put cosign in there. You ever seen that? Put cosign if you ever seen that happen, and most of you probably wouldn't admit to being that person, but you ever seen that happen to somebody? This person's not even good, but they keep getting promoted, they keep getting new jobs, they keep getting pay raises, and you're looking at them like, yo, this mofo is not even good at the job. They can't even do anything. They have no qualifications, but they keep moving up. How is this happening? This is because the corporate and bureaucratic world, folks, is very political, and it's political with a lowercase p, not political like the government, but political as in, let me define politics for you, for those of you who don't know the word. Politics means the things that human beings do to protect or advance their own personal interests, engaging with other people. So anything that I do, engaging with other humans, trying to protect my own personal interests or advance my own personal interests, that is politics. Understand that all of you, understanding that definition, everybody is engaged in politics. There's no one who is exempt from politics. Any of you who tries to exempt yourself from politics, you're probably living in a cabin in the woods somewhere and not dealing with people. You probably don't have Wi-Fi, so you wouldn't be listening to me right now. We are all in politics. So if you don't like being political, that's completely fine. Just understand that in your career, especially those of you who are not athletes, which is most of you, you're probably not going to be able to move up as high as you want to move up if you decide to not be political. You want to be apolitical, you're not going to move up in most places as high as you could. Now, if you're good and you're political, you can get all the way to the top. If you're political and not even that good, you can still move up. And if you're poor at politics and really good, you can stay at the bottom your entire career, just because the wrong person doesn't like you or the right person doesn't know who you are. That's how it works. I'm saying all that to say this. The sports world. Now, management, coaching, the executive, the C-suite, the owners, and the guys you see wearing suits while the game is going on, that's corporate. The sports world is corporate. NFL is a corporation, a big corporation. NBA is corporate. Sports, college sports, corporate. All of that stuff is corporate. Okay, a lot of people don't quite understand that separation. Coaching, management, staff, executives, all of that is corporate, even in sports. The playing is not corporate. I mean, it is, but it isn't. What I mean by that is the playing in sports is about performance. What does that mean? Long story short, the best players get the most chances and the most money, and they end up with the most rewards. The best players get on in sports as a general rule. Now, of course, I'm sure any of you could probably, if you follow sports or have played, you could probably point out or name some exceptions to what I just said. Like, what about this guy? He's not that good, but he kept getting chances. Or this guy was a high draft pick, couldn't play, but he kept getting on teams. Or this guy's LeBron James' son, he can't really play, but he got in the NBA. Yes, we know about the exceptions. The exceptions prove the rule. All of you need to understand that. Exceptions prove the rule. What that means is that when you know something to be true, just because there are a handful of exceptions that you can point out, that doesn't mean that the rule is now negated just because you saw a couple of exceptions. It's kind of like I say, Miami is warm, sunny, and humid, and then you come down here one day and it's cold and rainy. That doesn't mean that the rule is not still true. The rule is still true. It just happens to be an exception. The exception proves the rule because everybody notices the exception. Same way I said, you want to be a basketball player and play pro, you probably got to be tall. You got to be over 6 feet. And then you say, well, hey, Nate Robinson was only 5'7". Muggsy Bogues was 5'3". Yes, there are exceptions. In fact, you can point out the exceptions because there's so few of them. It's more proof of the rule. In the sports world, everything is about the performance. The NFL draft is about projecting performance. That's what it's about. Who projects to be a really good player in the NFL? We saw what you did in college. We project you're going to be a good player in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, the reason he didn't go in the first round is not because people hate Deion Sanders. It's not because people have a problem with someone who is black and quote unquote already rich and confident and whatever people are saying about him. The reason he didn't get picked in the first round is because the NFL teams who were choosing, the NFL draft is a deep science, the way they study for it and prepare for this draft from what I see. The NFL team said he's probably not the player that we want in the first round. Somebody's going to pick him. I mean, there were 32 picks in the first round. He's going to get picked probably in the second round, maybe the third round. He's going to get chosen by somebody. But they just said, we don't think we need to invest a first round pick on this guy because based on where you get picked, that has a huge impact on how much money you make. And also, if the opportunity cost. Remember, third law of economics, folks, is opportunity cost. Everything you choose to do comes at the cost of everything that you didn't do. So if you take Shedeur Sanders in the first round, that means the player that you didn't take that player might be better. So it's not that NFL team said he can't play in the NFL at all. I saw somebody try to say, well, he's being blackballed. You can't get, only way he's blackballed is if he doesn't play at all. He never gets drafted. That's not going to happen. Somebody's going to choose him. He's going to get to play in the NFL, and then we'll see when he gets on the field. I'll get to that in a moment. He's going to get chosen at some point because he didn't get chosen in the first round. Let me say it this way, because teams said, okay, I'd rather have this guy in the first round than have him. There's a team right now looking at this saying, we hope that he's still available when we come up with the 43rd pick or the 35th pick or the 65th pick. We hope Shedeur Sanders is still available because we will value him at that number pick. We just won't value him at this number pick. Everybody understand this? So it's kind of like if you went to a car dealership and you go to the Toyota dealership to get a car, and Toyota shows you what's a Toyota car? Camry. They show you a Camry and they say, hey, you like this car? You test drive it, you like it. And you say, all right, what's the numbers on this? How much I got to pay to get the Camry? And the salesperson says this car is $250,000. You would say, what? Like, how? When did a Toyota Camry become $250,000? It's not that you don't want the Camry. You just don't want the Camry for $250,000. Now, if it's $25,000, you say, all right, let's do the paperwork, check my score, and send me to the finance office, and let's get this done for $25,000. But if the car costs $250,000, you're like, no, I can't do that. You still want the car. You just don't want the car at that price. So the reason Shedeur Sanders didn't get picked in the first round is because teams, there has to be a team in the NFL that probably likes him. He's going to get chosen. It's just a matter of they don't want to choose him at that price. At that price, it doesn't make sense. But at this price, it makes perfect sense. All of you understand that pretty simply. Yes? Okay. So this is what happened with Shedeur Sanders. Now, when it comes to people saying, well, he's already rich, quote unquote, he's black, and he's confident. We got to talk about this. This has to be discussed when it comes to this kid. He is following in his dad's footsteps very, very strongly. I have a father. All of you have a father. Some of you have a relationship with your father. Some of you don't. But all of you actually have one, right? Some males, let's just use males here for an example. Some males follow very closely in their father's footsteps, and others kind of diverge greatly from how their fathers were to how they become. If you saw my dad, you probably would know he's my dad because I look similar to him in the face, but we're different in a whole lot of different ways. I didn't follow him career-wise, and I didn't follow him like, I guess, ideology-wise. I don't know. I don't talk to him about that stuff that much, but I doubt it. He's a black guy who was born in the 60s, so they have certain views that I don't have. You follow my stuff, you probably can tell that. And he's actually not even that tall. I'm 6'4". My dad's like 5'8" and didn't play basketball at all. And then there are young men who, when they come up and they have a lot of influence from their dads, even with a lot of influence, sometimes you don't follow. I had influence from my dad. I come from a 2-parent household. But then other kids follow very directly. Shedeur Sanders following very closely to his dad's style. Those of you who are old enough, you remember this if you follow sports. But if you are not old enough, you can look this up. Look up the video of Deion Sanders, that's Shedeur Sanders' dad, when he was drafted to the NFL. The video when he was drafted, or just find a picture, what he looked like when he got drafted to the NFL. Deion had on these sunglasses. He had all this jewelry on. I think he was talking on a cell phone. This is like the late 80s. This is before having a cell phone was even a normal thing. He's on a cell phone. He got all this jewelry on. He got these sunglasses on. I believe he had a Jerry curl. So his Jerry curl's dripping. And he's just looking like, I don't even know what you want to say he looked like. He looked like CB4. That's what he looked like. And he lived up to the hype. That's the thing with Deion Sanders. He was drafted top 5. And he was all flashy. He was like this when he was in college. He got drafted to the NFL. He's like, yeah, it's all about the money. He actually put out an album. He had a song called Must Be the Money. Deion was like that. He was cocky. He was flashy. He was drawing attention to himself all the time. And the thing is, the reason that Deion was so popular, again, he was my favorite athlete. When I first started playing sports, the first athlete that was my favorite athlete was Deion Sanders. And I didn't even play football or baseball, not at a serious level, was because not only did he have the flash, the style, he had the substance. He was actually really fucking good. Deion Sanders, again, one of the best NFL players of all time. Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, he hasn't made it to the NFL yet. He's about to be in the NFL. He hasn't played yet. We're going to see when he starts playing in the NFL. He is copying all of his dad's style, but has not yet proven to have the substance. That's the issue. And it's a big issue. I'm going to tell you why it's a big issue. Because the NFL, number one, is a huge business. The NFL is way bigger than the NBA. Those of you who are basketball fans, the NFL is the biggest show on all of television. A lot of people don't know that. That every year when you look at the top rated TV shows all year. Everything that came on TV all year, anything. The NFL, like the top 25, the NFL has like 17 of the top 25 spots. And there'll be random games that happen. So he says CB4. That's kind of what he looked like. That's the first thing that comes to mind, CB4. Dripping Jerry curl, the sunglasses on, the jewelry. He was like a caricature of some street guy who makes a whole lot of money in the streets and just wants to make sure you know he got it. Deion looked like that when he got drafted. But he wasn't a street guy. He was an NFL player. He became very damn good. So anyway, what I was saying, the NFL is a very big business. There's a lot of money in the NFL. A lot of money gets invested into the teams. A lot of money invested into the players. And again, those of you who are basketball fans, the NFL dwarfs the NBA when it comes to money generated, everything. The NFL is a way bigger business. And the reason why NFL players can't quite make the money NBA players make is that, first of all, it's like 4 or 5 times more people on an NFL roster than there's an NBA roster. So the money has to be spread out more. And they have a different pay structure simply because football is such a dangerous sport. They're trying to make it less dangerous, which is making the sport is taken away from the essence of the sport. But it's a more dangerous sport, so it's harder to make bigger long-term investments in players simply because players get injured way more easily and careers are a lot shorter in football simply because you're beating your body up. Anyway, and also in NFL stadiums, I remember what was I thinking of? I was looking at something. I think I was looking at a video maybe of a football game. But football stadiums are like 50, 60, 80, 100,000 people can fit in them. A basketball stadium is like 20,000. So a sold out basketball game is like 20,000 people. A sold out football game is like 100,000 people. So it's way bigger on many dimensions that a lot of people don't appreciate. The NFL is a much bigger business than the NBA. I'm saying all that to say this, that Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, has copied the style when he has not yet proven the substance. And an NFL team, we're going to make an investment in this kid. And we're going to put some money on this guy. And quarterback, by the way, quarterback in the NFL is the most important position in all of sports. There's no position in any team sport that's more important than quarterback. So all the team sports you know about, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, whatever the team sports, those are the biggest team sports. The number one position in all of sports, you just rank them in importance. Number one is quarterback in the NFL. Why? Because there's only 32 teams in the NFL, and most of them have one main quarterback. It's only 32 of those spots, and the team pretty much goes as the quarterback goes. And when the team is successful, the quarterback gets all the credit. Team sucks, the quarterback gets the blame. And the quarterback makes the most money. All of these things have been known forever, for years when it comes to NFL. Quarterback is the main position. So Shedeur Sanders, and I heard the person I first heard say this, and I'll give him credit because he made the analogy. I'll borrow it from him. His name is Jason Whitlock. He's used to be a journalist, but now they're all on TV. So I guess TV, video, YouTube journalism, they all do it now because nobody reads anymore. So all the writers that I used to like reading, they all got YouTube and podcasts now. So anyway, he's the one I first heard say it. And the first time I heard him say it, he was talking about this player named Cam Newton. You remember Cam Newton? He played in the NFL. Y'all might know him now because he has a podcast. And Cam Newton, when he played in the NFL, he came in the league probably about 15 years ago. And when he came in the league, he had like a clean cut style. He talked normal, looked normal. He was a great player, talked normal, looked normal. And he won the Heisman Trophy from being a very good football player. Now, he had some physical talent that somebody like Deion Sanders had. He had way more physical talent than Shedeur Sanders had. And he could do it all with his legs. Cam was a big guy. He could run and it was fast and all this stuff. I believe Cam was the number one draft pick. Was Cam number one pick in the NFL when he got drafted? Somebody let me know. I think he was. I think he was the number one pick. And he won MVP one year, went to the Super Bowl, didn't win. But Cam was that guy coming out of college. Everybody knew this guy is a surefire. He's going to do something in the NFL. Okay, so all y'all tell him he was number one pick. Cam Newton, as his career went on, he started to pick up more of this style stuff. So y'all see Cam Newton now. If y'all watch him on his podcast or you see his clips. I don't watch his podcast, but every once in a while, one of his clips goes viral on social media and I see it. And you see how Cam Newton looks now? And this is how he started to look in the second half of his NFL career. He started to wear these outfits that were very attention drawing. For lack of a better term, I don't even know what to call this stuff he was wearing. He would start wearing these attention drawing outfits, and he wore these attention drawing outfits. He grew his hair out. I don't know if he had the hair when he was still playing. He started to grow his hair out, and he would style it in all different ways. He would wear these hats, these top hats he would wear. He would have sunglasses on, and he had this whole outfit that he would have on. And it seemed as if this guy was taking a whole lot of time to plan out his outfits before and it's not like he's a fashion model. He would wear these outfits just to go to the game then he'd play in the game, and then after the game, he'd take a shower, he'd put the outfit back on, and then he would stand in front of the press. So the reason you saw it was because he was standing in front of the media, and everybody saw him doing that. And now they got this new thing in all sports. They do it in football, also in basketball, that when the players are, I guess they come from the parking lot and they're walking from the parking lot into the locker room, they got the cameras on you. So this becomes like a runway, fashion model runway. And Cam Newton's walking in, and it seems as if, and Cam Newton's not the only one, I'm just using him as an example. It seems as if players, they like know that they're going to be on camera during that little walk. So they plan out outfits. Like, let me get my outfit. Let me get my fit ready so I can look good when I'm on this camera walk between the parking lot and walking into the locker room. And it's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. If you want to juxtapose it to back in the day, go look at video and pictures of Michael Jordan when he used to walk into the arena before games. It was the same way every time. He was always in a suit. He would have his sunglasses on, and he just walked through. He wasn't really even acknowledging the cameras unless some reporter stopped him and talked to him. And we see what Michael Jordan's performance was like. I know Cam is still doing it to this day. He doesn't play anymore, though. So now he can do what he wants. But here's the issue. Here's the reason why I'm bringing this up. Because all players do this. Well, not all players, excuse me. A lot of players do it. The reason why it became an issue with Cam Newton in the later half of his career is because he's the quarterback. So the quarterback in football, I just told you, is the most important position in sports. When you're a quarterback, your job is you're the general. You're supposed to know the whole playbook. You got to know all the calls, and the team goes as you go. The quarterback sucks, the team's pretty much going to suck. It's pretty hard for a team to be successful when they have a quarterback who ain't that great. There are some exceptions, but generally the quarterback needs to be good. When the team fails, everybody talks about the quarterback. So Cam Newton, it appeared that he was putting more emphasis on his style than he was on his substance, and his play was reflective of that. And what I heard Jason Whitlock say, again, I'm giving him credit for this reason. This is what he said. Now I'm finally getting to it. Is that Cam was carrying himself like a wide receiver, even though he was playing quarterback. You see, a wide receiver in football can be all about the style and the flash and look at me, and it's all about them and their ego. You can do that when you play wide receiver because you only have one job. You can only impact the game but so much as a wide receiver. And when the ball is thrown to you, you catch it and hopefully you do your thing. There are many wide receivers who have been great players, but a wide receiver does not have as much influence on how the entire team performs as a quarterback does. So when a quarterback seems to be focusing on anything other than the substance and more on the style, the team tends to falter and the player tends to falter. This is what happened to Cam Newton. The more he got into the fashion, the worse his play got. And eventually he was out of the league, and Cam wasn't even that old. How old was Cam Newton when he stopped playing in the NFL? He wasn't that old. He ain't that old now. I think Cam is he even 35 years old? I don't think he's even 35 years of age right now. And he was out of the NFL a couple of years ago. And one of the reasons is because his whole game, a lot of his game is based on his athleticism. But as his athleticism waned, he wasn't able to perform at the same level. But also on top of that, it wasn't just the athleticism. He's only 35. He ain't even that old. And the reason why he ended up out of the league was not because he couldn't be a backup quarterback somewhere. He could be a backup on somebody's bench right now. He's better than, let's say, Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick talking about he's still trying to get in the NFL. Yeah, right. Cam Newton could be a backup quarterback on somebody's roster right now. He ain't going to play, but he could be on a roster. Why is he not? It's because his persona, his attitude, and what appears to be his ego were so big that this guy couldn't even be in a position of being a backup because he's done so much to draw so much attention to himself that we can't even have this guy as the backup quarterback because the starting quarterback is not going to get as much attention as the backup, and the backup don't play. Those of y'all who watch football and know anything about football, the backup quarterback does not play. And when you're not playing, you're supposed to be seen, not heard. As a matter of fact, you don't even get seen. Most of you probably can't even name the backup quarterback on 5 teams in the NFL from last season because nobody pays attention to the backup quarterback. Nobody cares about the backup quarterback. Cam Newton, I believe this is how NFL teams are thinking. This is the part that I want y'all to get. And I'm going to get to Shedeur in a second. All this connects. Is that NFL teams are looking at Cam Newton and saying, okay, Cam's not good enough to be a starter anymore, but he has years of experience. He's been an MVP. He's been in the locker room. He's had the respective teammates. Okay, we can make him a backup. He could be our backup quarterback. And if we need him in a pinch, our starter gets hurt one day, he can come in and play 3 quarters for a game and the starter will be back the following week. Cam Newton, is he physically capable of doing that? I think many teams in the NFL said, yes, he's capable of doing that. So why didn't anybody sign him? Reason people didn't sign him is because when you're a backup quarterback, again, you can't have ego. How you got ego? You're sitting on the bench the whole season. And why am I saying that Cam Newton had ego? Again, I don't know Cam Newton personally. What I'm saying is his public persona, the way he started presenting himself was, I'm the guy, everybody look at me. That's fine when you're the man. It's not fine when you're no longer the man. That was Cam Newton's issue. You want an example in another sport? Look at someone like Allen Iverson. He played for my hometown team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Allen Iverson was the man. He was putting up all those stats and scoring 30 points a game, and he was maybe the most popular basketball player in the world for a certain period of time. Won the MVP award, went to the finals in 2001 where they got smacked off by the Lakers, but he went to the finals, won MVP, all of that. And Allen Iverson was the guy. And Allen Iverson carried himself in such a way, and he played on the court in such a way that everything needed to revolve around him. And if it didn't, he wasn't really effective. If anything didn't revolve around Iverson, he couldn't really play. And as soon as he wasn't Allen Iverson anymore, i.e. he wasn't super quick, he couldn't just beat anybody off the dribble. He didn't have the crossover move that separated him from everybody. He couldn't score 30 points a game. As soon as he couldn't do that anymore, his career was over. He was out of the NBA. Reason Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant came into the NBA at the same time. Now, Iverson was maybe 2 or 3 years older than Kobe because Kobe came straight from high school and Iverson had been in college. But why did Kobe Bryant keep playing until like 2016? Kobe Bryant played like 7-8 years longer than Allen Iverson. Why? And Kobe Bryant, by the end of his career, he wasn't Kobe anymore either. Right? His last game, he scored that 60 points. He shot the ball like 50 times. A lot of people don't know that. But Kobe was able to stay Kobe because, well, first of all, Kobe had some fundamental skills that Allen Iverson didn't have. And Kobe also had the respect of the locker room, even as his talent slowly diminished. He still had the respect of the locker room because of the way he carried himself, the way he showed up every day. Compared that to Allen Iverson, y'all remember the whole infamous practice? We talking about practice thing? And even though it was funny, and even though Allen Iverson is probably still revered by a lot of people because he said that, the issue with Allen Iverson doing the whole "are we talking about practice" thing is that most players in the NBA, even his teammates that year when he did that, most players are not talented enough to not practice and still be in the NBA. Allen Iverson was talented enough that he didn't need to practice, and he told you right there. He went and made light of the whole concept of practice, and I know there were some other mitigating factors. He had just lost a family member, et cetera, et cetera. But see, he hadn't lost a family member during the season when he wasn't practicing, and he wasn't showing up, and he wasn't trying during practice. That's what the coaches were calling out. His coach was Larry Brown. Larry Brown was calling out, yo, you're not trying hard in practice. You're not showing up at practice. You're not giving your best effort. And Larry Brown couldn't do shit about it because he's a superstar player. Allen Iverson had more leverage than Larry Brown had. If push came to shove, they would have fired the coach before they let go of Allen Iverson. So all he could do was complain about it. He couldn't really make Iverson do anything they didn't want to do. And none of his teammates could say shit to Allen Iverson because he was the man on the team. Again, who's going to say something to a guy who carries himself this way? So as soon as he wasn't Allen Iverson anymore, the NBA was more than happy to get rid of him. Allen Iverson's ended his career playing overseas. Where was he playing at? Belgium? What country was Allen Iverson in? Was it Belgium he was playing in? Or was it, I'm trying to remember. I think it was Belgium. Allen Iverson was playing in Belgium. Kobe Bryant was going to the NBA Finals. They came in the league at the same time. Because Allen Iverson, that attitude works when you're the man. As soon as you ain't the man anymore, that attitude, ain't nobody hearing this shit. That was Allen Iverson's issue. And I'm saying all that, bringing it back to Shedeur Sanders. The issue is NFL teams are looking at Shedeur Sanders the same way that I just described Cam Newton and Allen Iverson. And again, look at Allen Iverson. Look at Allen Iverson. He was the number one pick in the draft. Look at Cam Newton, number one pick in the draft. Both of these guys were when you're the number one pick in the draft, often, it's not always, sometimes they are aberrations, but most of the time, you're number one pick in the draft in the NFL or the NBA, you already can't miss talent. It's like everybody's like, that's the guy. LeBron James, number one pick. All right, Dwight Howard, number one pick. All right, Derrick Rose, number one pick. Number one picks in the NFL draft are guys that everybody's like, all right, this guy's going to be a star. Worst case scenario, he'll be an all-star for several years. He may not become a Hall of Famer, but worst case scenario, he's an all-star for several years. You're a number one pick. Shedeur Sanders, and how do they know that? They know that because of the talent that you displayed in college. Shedeur Sanders did not display that much talent. He has talent. He doesn't have that much talent. That's the reason why he didn't go in the first round. On top of the fact, there's two reasons why he didn't go in the first round. None of them is about hate, and none of them is about his dad. And none of them is about him already being rich. Quote unquote, already rich, whatever that means. Another reason he didn't go in the first round is because they said, number one, this guy ain't that talented to the point that we have to overlook anything that could possibly be a red flag. And then number two, the red flags are, number one, Shedeur Sanders has never played from high school to now, has never played for a team in which his dad was not the coach. Is this a red flag? Yes, it is. What would you do? You run a $1 billion franchise in the NFL. Would you draft him? He's never played for anyone other than his dad since high school. His dad was his high school coach. His dad was his college coach. You see who his dad is. You see how his dad is. And you see how the son is carrying himself all under the mentorship. I guess we can call it that. The mentorship of his father. His father is enabling him to be the way that he's been. What is he going to be like as soon as he has the answer to a man who's not his dad? We don't know. Would you risk money on that? I'm asking this open question to the audience. Put a yes or no in the comments. Even if you don't follow football, just from what I just told you. Would you risk money on that? Would you put a couple $100 million on that? You see how Dion is. I described Dion to you. I described his son to you. Would you risk money on this guy? I wouldn't risk money on this. And listen, I'll eat crow if he ends up being great. I'm not saying this person. I'm saying if I'm an NFL GM or an owner, I'm not risking money on this guy because I have no idea how he's going to respond when he has a coach who's not his father. And he got to answer to somebody who's not his dad. And I might have to check him on his energy. I might have to check him on his approach. I might have to check him on his attitude. What's he going to do when somebody other than his father talks to him like that? What is he going to do? I don't know. Am I going to give this guy $100 million? I don't know. And again, if he was Allen Iverson talent, if he was Cam Newton talent, I might just have to hold my nose and swallow the pill, as they say, and say, all right, I'm not sure about this guy's attitude, but damn it, he's so damn talented, we got to do it anyway. See, if you're that talented, that's what they do. When you're super duper talented, you can have a bunch of red flags, and they say, all right, we'll take him anyway. Or we'll take him later. Maybe he goes a little bit later in the first round. You want an example of this? Randy Moss. Y'all remember Randy Moss? Actually, Allen Iverson is a good example. Allen Iverson went to jail when he was in high school. He went to jail. It was over a brawl that happened in the bowling alley. And according to Allen Iverson, he probably didn't even do anything. Like, he didn't even do anything in the brawl, but because he was there, his name got mentioned. He got railroaded. He went to jail. Allen Iverson had a jail record. A lot of college teams didn't want to touch Allen Iverson anymore. John Thompson at Georgetown took a chance on him. Allen Iverson was so damn good. They said, despite all these red flags, we got to take this guy anyway. And they took him anyway because he was Allen Iverson. He was that good. Cam Newton didn't have red flags. So he didn't start doing all that flamboyant shit till he was in the league. When he first got drafted, look at pictures of Cam Newton when he got drafted. He had a regular haircut. He talked normal. He wasn't doing any of that shit till he was in the league and he started to be a star. He started to try to make himself into this, I don't know what you want to call what he does now. Fashion icon, I guess, is what he started doing. He wasn't like that when he got drafted. He wasn't carrying himself like that. Shedeur Sanders is doing all that. He didn't even get drafted yet. And listen, Dion was doing it. Some of y'all are like, well, his dad did it. Problem, his dad was 10 times more talented than his son. That's the problem. Shedeur Sanders is good. He's talented. He ain't that talented. What I tell people about, and at the pro sports level, there's a cutoff point that at any sport, if you want to be a professional, there's a cutoff because people say to be a professional athlete, you got to be in the top 1% or top 2%, which is generally true. The thing is, you're not competing against everybody in the world. You want to be a professional football player, for example. You're not competing against everybody who ever looked at football. You're competing against out of the 100% of the population, you're competing against maybe 5% of people who are even qualified to be a pro football player. Only 5% of people are even qualified to make it. And then out of that 5%, 1% of that 5% actually makes it. So you're not competing against everybody. It's kind of like you want to be a pro basketball player. You don't have to beat out all the dudes who are playing at your local LA Fitness. All right? Most of them work at Taco Bell. They are not qualified to be in the NBA, and they never will be. You don't have to beat them out. You got to beat out the people who are above the cutoff line of talent. You got to have a certain level of talent to even think about it. You got to beat out those guys. So Deion Sanders was at the top of that group. Shedeur Sanders is in there, but he ain't all the way at the top. He's in there, but he ain't that high. That's the issue. On top of the attitude thing, and he's walking around with the jewels like his dad. He's showing off a watch like his dad would have done back then if he was playing in this era. And he's made his money from name, image, and likeness. I guess it's not a big deal. They all make money from name, image, and likeness. But again, his dad has been his coach his entire life. He's never had to answer to anyone other than his dad. And people are not quite sure this guy can lead a locker room. Can this guy lead a locker room? That's the question about Shedeur Sanders. Would you want him leading your locker room? Now, NFL roster is what? 53-man roster. Let's say you got a bunch of injured guys in his practice team. Say you got 70 guys in the locker room. 70 grown men. All right, Shedeur Sanders is about to come in as a rookie. So let's say, was he 21? Let's say he's 21. He's going to walk into a locker room with 70 grown men. Are they going to listen to this guy? They going to listen to this kid? I'm not sure. That's the issue. Now, again, rookie quarterbacks are rookie quarterbacks no matter who you are. You could be Tom Brady as a rookie. You're still a rookie. You still got to prove yourself. But again, if this guy has all these other things going on, he's showing you his jewelry. He's, quote unquote, famous. He got his brother, which is Deion's oldest son, who doesn't play football. His brother's doing all the camera stuff. His dad's on social media talking shit every day. And again, do you want to bring this into your locker room? This is a serious question, a legitimate question that needs to be answered. Do you want to bring this into your locker room? I would have to think twice about this. I say the only way that I would, if I was an NFL GM or an owner, I said the only way I'm bringing this into my locker room is that this guy is so talented that I got to accept all the nonsense that comes with it. But you ain't that talented? Nah, you ain't that good. That's what it is. That's what happened to Shedeur Sanders. And again, it's not like we're talking like he didn't get to play in the NFL at all. He's probably going to get drafted in the second round. That's not some crazy thing. Randy Moss is another example. Randy Moss was a wide receiver, though, different than a quarterback. Randy Moss was a wide receiver. He had some issues off the field when he was in college. He ended up playing at Marshall, which is not a major D1 college. He ended up playing at Marshall, not because Randy Moss was not talented. Randy Moss was at Florida State, where someone of his talent should be. But he ended up at Marshall because he had some things that happened off the field. He faded in the NFL draft. I think he was like in the middle of the first round. And he was upset about the fact that he went in the middle of the first round. He said, hey, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to rip up the NFL and prove it. And everybody knows who Randy Moss is. All right, Randy Moss was that talented. Even with the red flags, he still fell only to the middle of the first round. Shedeur Sanders ain't that talented. That's why the first round has ended and he has not been selected yet. And people saying, well, they're only saying this because he's black and he's rich and et cetera, et cetera. I just gave you a bunch of examples of black people. Allen Iverson, Randy Moss. I gave you a bunch of examples of black people. All right. Remember LeVar Ball? They were saying, somebody said on social this morning to me, they did the same thing to LeVar Ball. No, they didn't. LeVar Ball's oldest son was the number 2 pick in the draft. His youngest son, what was LaMelo Ball draft number? What number did he get drafted? LaMelo Ball, LeVar Ball's youngest son. What number did he get drafted? He was up there. He didn't even play in college. LaMelo Ball was the number 1 pick, was he? Then I'm saying the number 3. He was 3rd pick. So LaMelo, then I'm saying number 2. So we can't agree on what number pick he was. Then somebody said number 1. So we don't know. What number pick was this guy? What number pick was LaMelo Ball? Can somebody definitively tell me this? So I'm saying number 1, number 2, and number 3. Look, all in order, I got 3 different people giving me 3 different numbers. He was number 3. Okay, number 3 for sure. Okay. Number 3 draft pick, LaMelo Ball. Why? His dad wasn't a red flag. First of all, his dad had coached him. Yeah, his dad had coached him, but his dad wasn't Deion Sanders. His dad was a loudmouth, and he's still a loudmouth. LeVar Ball's still a loudmouth, but it was obvious that LaMelo Ball was so good, hey, we're taking this kid. And we couldn't quite, it's not even like you get a great read on his game because he's playing in Australia. He's playing for some random high school league that his dad tried to start up. His dad's coaching. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but damn, this guy's so talented, we got to take him anyway. That's what happened with LaMelo Ball. He was so talented, we got to take him anyway. And LaMelo Ball is a pretty good player. Now, are you going to win with him as your main guy? Probably not. But can he play? Absolutely, he can play. Nobody can say LaMelo Ball can't play. Oldest kid, Lonzo Ball. Now, this is before the LeVar Ball. I mean, he was out there then, but it wasn't as loud. He got louder after the first kid. But Lonzo Ball can play. He's had injuries, but he can play. That's why he was the number 2 pick in the draft. His middle son, the guy who became a rapper, he couldn't really play. And now he's a rapper. This is the way it works in sports, folks. When you can play, it really doesn't matter. All the other stuff doesn't matter when you can really play. When you're super talented, all the other shit don't matter. People don't have to like you. They don't have to like your skin color. They don't have to like your jewelry. They ain't gotta like your dad. They ain't gotta like the car you drive. They don't even have to like the shit you post on social media. If you can play well enough, none of that shit matters. You'll get picked anyway. Now, if you can still play, but you ain't that amazing, now you get what's happening to Shedeur Sanders. That's what's happening to him right now. You can play, Shedeur, but you ain't that. You ain't your dad. Just the reality of the situation. Now, again, when he gets on the field, we'll see. That's the great thing about sports is that people can not like you and you can end up having some political, because everything I'm talking about here is a political frame. It's a political frame mixed in with his performance. Is a political frame of the red flags are political. All right, who your dad is and you're following in your dad's footsteps is political. Saying we're not sure this guy can follow the lead of a man other than his father is a political conversation that happens, but is combined with, is mixed in with his performance. Because his teammate, Travis Hunter, number 2 pick? His teammate, number 2 pick. Why? Because his teammate's fucking good. And it's undeniable how good his teammate is. Shedeur's, how good he is questionable. That's it. And some people are saying, I'm sure there's some people in the comments saying this. Let me get to the comments in a second. They're saying, well, they're only doing this because he's black. Not really. Not really. Not really. And yes, the fact that he's black, does it matter? Yeah, because black people are getting mad about it. But they're doing it because he's black. No. If a white player comes in with red flags, white people will drop in the draft as well. White people will not get their chance either. How talented are you? It all comes down to how talented are you. All right, people said things about Tim Tebow. Remember Tim Tebow? Tim Tebow dominated in college. Did he win the Heisman Trophy twice? Or did he win the championship twice? Tim Tebow was dominant in college. Whatever he was, he dominated in college. Like, absolutely dominated. And then when he was coming to the NFL, people said, yeah, he did that in college, but we're not sure the way he played in college can translate to the NFL. Well, how did Tim Tebow's career go? I mean, he had some flashes, but long-term, Tim Tebow didn't play that long. Why? Because his style did not fit in the NFL. And he had red flags for other reasons. His red flags were on the field, not off the field. Tim Tebow was a devout Christian from what I saw. But the red flags were, can this guy play in the NFL? And I told y'all this 20 minutes ago. The bottom line in sports is, can you play? On the field or on the court, the bottom line is, can you play and how well can you play? That's what it all comes down to. So even Cam Newton, once he started doing all that fashion shit, as long as he was still performing, it was good. As soon as he stopped performing, it was a wrap. Allen Iverson, he had a whole bunch of red flags from the beginning, and he kept putting up more red flags as he kept playing. Remember that rap album? And as soon as he wasn't Allen Iverson anymore, actually, let me back up. While he was still Allen Iverson, didn't matter what he did. You don't want to practice Allen Iverson? That's okay. All right, you want to smoke weed, Allen Iverson? That's okay. You want to come late to the games? That's okay. You don't want to wear a suit and honor the dress code? That's okay, because you're averaging 35 points a game. As soon as he stopped averaging 30 and he couldn't be Allen Iverson anymore, his career was over that fast. Now compare that to somebody who doesn't have all those red flags and they just show up. There's an NBA player who used to play for the Heat. He just retired. His name is Udonis Haslem. Y'all know Udonis Haslem? He played for the Heat. He's from Miami. And he played for the Miami Heat for – he stayed with the Heat his whole career. Like the last 3 or 4 years of Udonis' career, he didn't even play. He was just on the bench. He didn't play. He had a uniform on, but he never played. He barely got in the games, but he was respected by everybody on the roster. He's basically an assistant coach, and he wasn't even playing. But everybody respected him, and he played until he wanted to stop playing. And he's probably going to get his number retired by the Heat if they didn't already. And he is a well-respected member of their organization after playing for them for damn near 20 years. Why is that? Because he didn't have any red flags. He didn't have any red flags off the court. So even though he was no longer a guy, because when the Heat won their first championship, 2006, Udonis was a major player. I think a starter. He was a starter for many years. So it's not like he was a bum his whole career. He was a starter for many years. Then he was more of a role player. And then he was basically a guy who didn't play at all, but he was well respected. He was a veteran, what they call a respected veteran, locker room guy is what they call him. He's a locker room guy. Is Shedeur Sanders ever going to be a locker room guy? He doesn't look like one. Maybe anything can change. Anybody can change. Does he look like a locker room guy? Does he look like the kind of guy who could walk into a room of 70 men and lead them, and they're going to actually listen to what he has to say? I mean, they're going to try because you got to listen to the quarterback. But is he ready to lead? And again, can he lead without his dad standing behind him, basically co-signing him? Thing I meant to mention. It was either last year or the year before. Colorado, this is a school that Shedeur played at. Him and Travis Hunter played there. Travis Hunter, number 2 pick, Heisman Trophy winner. Deion Sanders is the coach. Colorado was having off-season workouts for the player, everybody on the team. And Shedeur Sanders, I believe it was Shedeur and I don't know who it was. I think it was his brother, his older brother who doesn't. No, it was Shedeur and his other brother who was a defensive back, Shiloh. They both went to, Paris? And they were walking in the fashion show in Paris. Was it Paris? They're walking in the fashion show in Paris while the rest of the team at Colorado is at the practice field practicing. And the coach's 2 sons who are on the team, they're both starters on the team, one of them the most important position in all of sports, the quarterback, they're not there because they went to go walk in a fashion show in Paris while the rest of the team has the practice. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. What is that telling me? What that's telling me is daddy is setting different rules for his sons than he is for everybody else. And nobody can question daddy because if you question daddy, you ain't going to be on the team no more. So nobody can say anything. And if you question daddy because he's a black man who's flashy, you're hating if you're black, and you're racist if you're white. So he had this catch-all that no matter what you say, he can just deflect against it by whatever shield he has. Now, what does that have to do with Shedeur playing in the NFL? Because Deion Sanders ain't the coach. Deion Sanders still at Colorado, last I checked. What does that have to do with the NFL? What it has to do with the NFL is that this kid, Shedeur, has been in this environment where his dad basically sets rules for him that does not apply to everyone else, that do not apply to everyone else. He has bought into this. It's not like he said, hey, my dad said I can go to Paris, but I'm not going because I want to be here with my teammates. That would have been a whole different conversation had he said that. He didn't do that. He said, I'm going to go to, my dad said I can go to Paris. I ain't got to work out like the rest of the team. Let me go to Paris. He goes to Paris. What is that telling the rest of the roster? It's giving a loud and clear message. But again, when you're in college, any of you ever played a college sport, especially, well, nowadays a little bit different because the players had a name, image, and likeness. But with Deion's situation, the coach is the most powerful person, especially if you played college sports before NIL. The coach runs everything. You go against the grain of the coach, you ain't going to be on the team. That's it. You get on the wrong side of a coach when you play a college sport before the money was involved for the players, you are not playing. So you can't say shit to the coach. What you going to say to Deion Sanders? He sent his son, the quarterback, most important player on the team, and his son to Paris while you got to work out. Could you say, hey, coach, how is it that the quarterback ain't here practicing like the rest of us? Oh, you won't be on the team no more. You'll be off the roster. The next day, they're pulling your scholarship. Guaranteed. Now, again, I'm talking about Deion. What does that have to do with Shedeur? What does that have to do with the NFL? The New York Giants or the Baltimore Ravens are thinking about taking him. Why does that affect whether they make a decision? Is that this is the environment this guy comes from. He comes from an environment where he could do whatever he wants to do. And his dad is going to basically protect him from any blowback or criticism. I guarantee you nobody ever criticized Shedeur Sanders in all his years playing in college. Criticized by who? Who's going to criticize him? You an assistant coach, you going to criticize Shedeur in front of Deion? Knowing the kind of ego that Deion Sanders has and the reputation he has, you going to criticize his son in front of him? And he ain't say it first, you going to say it in front of Deion? You're going to lose your job as the assistant coach. Did Deion criticize him? Not sure. So I saw this video. This guy, Dan Orlovsky, he played in the NFL as a quarterback, and he offered a critique. And this is what they do in NFL, this film study. So Dan Orlovsky said during the draft yesterday that a team might not pick Shedeur because he has this issue of holding on to the ball too long. I've heard a bunch of people who follow football really closely say this. He's not the first person to say it. Won't be the last person to say it. A bunch of people said this. They said Shedeur Sanders, when he gets the ball in the game, he will hold on to the ball longer than he's supposed to. And if you hold on to the ball too long, the defensive lineman is going to get to you. You're going to get sacked. And Shedeur Sanders is not Mike Vick. He's not Cam Newton. He can't make plays with his legs like those other guys because he doesn't have their athletic talent. He can throw the ball, but he's not fast. He's not Deion. He's not Cam. He's not Mike Vick. He can't run away from people the way that they did. So if he holds on to the ball too long, he's pretty much going to get sacked and is going to hurt the team. And he keeps holding on to the ball. And what scouts say about a player who holds on to the ball too long, or at least Shedeur, they say he holds on to the ball because he's trying to make a highlight play, but he doesn't have the athleticism to make those plays because he can't evade the defenders the way that those other guys, again, Mike Vick, Cam Newton, he can't evade defenders the way that those guys do. So when he does it, it doesn't work, but he keeps trying to do it. And the scouts are looking at the film and saying he's going to get to the NFL doing this because he's developed these bad habits over his years being coached by his dad, and he has these bad habits. You come to the NFL with bad habits, they're going to get exploited when you get to the NFL. Now, are they possible to be fixed? Of course. I mean, you get drafted based on spec, based on what do we think you're going to be. Do you have some kinks in your game? Sure. Do players get better when they get into the pros? Of course they do, if they work on their games. Let's assume he's going to work on his game. He's going to get better. The problem is, here's the problem. His dad was coaching him the whole time. Why didn't nobody check him on this? That's the problem. So here you are, your last year playing in college. You've been having the same problem of holding on to the ball too long. You had that problem last year. You still got the problem this year. That means nobody's coaching you on your problems, and your dad's the coach, which might mean the quarterback coach might be saying, hey, Deion, hey, boss, your son's holding on to the ball too long. So we should say something to him about that. And nothing got said. That's a red flag. I'm not sure how accountable this kid has been held in his college years by his dad. It seems like when I listen to Deion talk, and again, Deion fan. I've been a Deion fan since he was playing. I'm not really a fan of coaches, but I've been a Deion fan. When I hear Deion speak about his son, he rarely offers any direct critique of his son. That's a red flag. When I played baseball for a few years as a youth, like 8 years old, my dad was the coach, and my dad would critique me. If I messed up, he would call me out in front of the whole team. Any of you ever played for your dad in a sport? I've heard many stories of guys who played for their dads in sports, like youth, like high school, middle school, etc., or recreational, your dad will call you out more than they called everybody else out. They would hold you to a higher standard just because you were the kid, because the dad wanted to make sure that nobody else in the room thought that they were showing you favoritism just because you're my son. They would call you out worse than everybody just because it was your dad. I remember I was listening to Brett Favre. Brett Favre, I think in high school, his dad was the coach. And Brett Favre was talking like, my dad would call me out about everything. And I remember his dad, he was telling the story. I think he said this. He said, our football team in high school, all we did was run. We would just run the ball. All we did was run the ball. And I feel like I got all this quarterback in town. I can't even show off my skills because all we did was run the ball. And my dad said, this is what we're doing. This is what works. This is what we're doing. I don't care how much talent you got. We're going to run the ball. And the whole thing is that a lot of kids, when their dad is the coach, again, the dad will hold you super accountable. They'll call you out for shit you ain't even do. Just to make sure you know, and that everybody else on that team knows, there's no special rules for my son. That's the old school way. And Deion ain't no kid. Deion ain't some 35-year-old. Deion's like 60. He knows better. But this is the way Deion came up himself. Was, again, all the flash, all the style. He sees his son taking after him, so I guess he ain't going to call his son out. Now, again, he's a grown man. He do what he wants to do. He just got a new contract in Colorado, so I guess they like what he's doing. So I can't say what he should do. But what Deion did do has put his son into a worse position. Now, Deion's not going to own that. Deion's not going to take any ownership of that. All he's doing, I saw him say this on social media yesterday, is hate. They're hating. Like, really, Deion, you like 60 years old or 50-something. It's like this. This is what I said. If you're over the age of 30, I don't want to hear you using the word hate when somebody criticizes you. Let's move on from that. I don't want to hear that. If you're over the age of 30, I don't care if you're a male or female, I don't care what you do for a living. If you're being critiqued by people, whether you know them or not, whether you think it's legitimate or not, let's stop calling critique hate. You can say that they're wrong. You can push back. You can disagree. But just to say, oh, well, y'all just hating. Like, really? They're hating on your son, Deion? How are they hating on your son? Nobody's hating on him. They're critiquing him. It's just the fact that you have asked for attention. I heard Marcellus Wiley say this once, and I borrowed it from him. When you call for attention, you can't hang up. Deion been calling for attention since the 80s. Thing is, he's good enough to deliver on the attention he asked for. His son is calling for attention. His son ain't that good, but he's calling for attention. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to get blowback. If you call for attention and then you get embarrassed or outed after you call for attention, of course, everybody's going to laugh at you because you asked for the attention. There's a boxer by the name of Adrian Broner. You heard of Adrian Broner? Now, Adrian Broner came up, I guess, under the wing of Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is a boxer who retired undefeated, a very good boxer. Some people say he's the best ever, and everybody says this guy has, as far as technical skill, Floyd Mayweather is one of the best that they've seen. Everybody I heard talk about boxing says he's one of the best we've seen in terms of technical ability, in terms of natural talent. He took the talents of his dad and his uncles, who were all boxers. He combined it and made himself into the ultimate. Nobody's ever said Floyd Mayweather wasn't good at boxing. Now, you might not like some of the fights he took or who he didn't fight and all that. Nobody ever said he's not good. Nobody ever said he didn't have talent. Floyd Mayweather was brash. He was cocky. He talked a lot of shit. He would talk shit to people and about people, and he drew a whole lot of attention to himself. The thing is, nobody could ever ridicule Floyd because nobody beat him. See, he called for attention, but every time he called for attention, he delivered on that attention. Now, this guy, Adrian Broner, came up as I guess like a disciple of Floyd. I don't know how they came to know each other, but he comes up as a disciple of Floyd. And Adrian Broner, I would hear him talking, and he would have a lot of that style of Floyd. He would be real brash. He didn't do it in Floyd's way because he has a different personality. So his came off a lot differently. It didn't feel as smooth as Floyd. When Floyd would talk shit, it sounded like funny and entertaining to me. When Adrian Broner talked shit, it sounded like he was forcing it. Just my opinion. And Adrian Broner would talk all this shit and be flashy. I remember I was watching a boxing match once. He boxed and he won the fight. And then after the fight, his dad has a hairbrush. He says, "Dad, brush my hair." So he's standing in the ring with his gloves on after the fight. You know how they do the interview after the fight? He's like, "Dad, brush my hair." And his dad is brushing his hair after the fight. He has this jewelry on. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? This guy's doing a bad impression of Floyd Mayweather. And I was listening. I was like, this guy's doing a bad impression of Floyd Mayweather, but whatever. Not like Adrian Broner. He's not a bad fighter. Adrian Broner is actually a very good fighter. So he was a good fighter. He won fights. He won more fights than he lost. The problem is Adrian Broner wasn't quite Floyd Mayweather. Now, again, there's a lot of boxers out there, and boxers talk shit before their fights. Nobody quite did it in terms of calling for attention the way Floyd Mayweather did, except maybe Conor McGregor in MMA. But let's just keep it to boxing. Adrian Broner was talking shit at the same level and the same volume as Floyd Mayweather. The problem was he was not as good as Floyd Mayweather. So when he got beat, everybody jumped on the opportunity to ridicule him for getting beat. One particular fight, he fought Marcos Maidana. Y'all remember that fight, Broner against Maidana? And Maidana basically kicked his ass. Maidana lumped him up. He got lumped up by Maidana. And I remember when that fight ended. And I watched it afterwards, but the fights are all at like 11 o'clock at night, so I didn't stay up to watch it. But I remember the night that he lost that fight. And it was the video of him getting taken out of the ring and into the locker room. They're like damn near carrying the guy out because he was all lumped up. And after that Maidana fight, the internet jumped all on his ass. And people were making rap songs, ridiculing him. And the reason why that happened is not because people, quote unquote, hated Adrian Broner. It's because he called for attention. When you call for attention and then things don't go the way that you claim they would go when you were calling for the attention, of course you're going to get ridiculed. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. All right, that's a law of the universe. It's a scientific law of energy. Energy is contagious. You put out energy to say you want everybody to look at you. Okay, they're going to look at you. And if you fuck up when they're looking at you, they're going to laugh at you. What did you think was going to happen? If you ask everybody to look at you and you dominate and you do exactly what you said you're going to do, you're going to get some people who are mad because they wanted to see you lose. Floyd got a lot of people who still don't like him to this day because they wanted to see him lose and he never lost. And then you're going to get fans because they're like, damn, this guy said he was the shit and he proved it. Shedeur is calling for attention, and right now, he ain't doing his thing. Now, the NFL season ain't till, September? So we won't really know for several months if he can actually play in the NFL or not. And then we got to give him years, and maybe he won't be a starter. We don't know. His career has to play out. But is he going to get some blowback right now? He is going to get blowback. Why? Because Deion said, my son's going top 5. Deion said that on social media last year. My son's going top 5, LOL. Well, Deion, he got to eat that. You put it out there, you got to eat that. And he's talking for his son. I don't even hear Shedeur talk. I ain't hear Shedeur talk that much. Y'all heard Shedeur talk? I heard him say nothing. I don't even know what his voice sounds like. All I hear is Deion. Deion, you ain't playing no more. You had your time. You in the Hall of Fame. You the man. Why are you still speaking? He can't keep talking for his son. On top of that, the fact that Deion is allegedly still coaching at college. Who's on the team in Colorado this year? That's what he needs to be talking about. That Deion should not be speaking at all once his son gets drafted. I'm assuming today. If not today, he's going to get drafted tomorrow. Deion should not talk about his son at all anymore because Deion still got a job coaching Colorado. So if he's during the Colorado season, because football seasons run the same time, if he's coaching Colorado, but he keeps talking about Shedeur, if I'm playing in Colorado, I'm like, Coach, you here or you over there? Like, you here or you with the New York Jets where your son plays? Are you coaching here or what? Now, of course, you can't actually say that because you're going to be off the team if you say that. And that's the problem, is that nobody can say shit to this guy. And by extension, nobody can say shit to his son. So when he gets to the NFL and in the locker room and the quarterback coach actually says some shit to him like, yo, what the fuck are you doing on this play? What's Shedeur going to say back? I don't know. What do y'all think? What's he going to say back as soon as he gets called out? I'll give you another example. I heard this guy who once went to his name's TJ Moe. He played in college, I think at Missouri, as a wide receiver. He didn't play in the NFL, but he went to training camp once. So he goes to training camp with the New England Patriots. And he's in training camp with the Patriots. This is when Tom Brady is killing it, Tom Brady. And Tom Brady threw a bad pass in a drill. And he threw a bad pass in the drill during practice. And mind you, this guy's a wide receiver, so he's one of the guys supposed to be catching the passes. And Bill Belichick just starts cussing Tom Brady out in front of the whole team. He's like, damn it, Brady, what the fuck is that? I can get the quarterback from Bristol High School to throw a better pass than that shit. What the hell was that? This is Bill Belichick to Tom Brady in front of everybody. This is when Tom Brady is the man. And everybody's saying Tom Brady's the best player in football. Bill Belichick does that to Tom Brady in front of everybody. Mike and the wide receiver, when they were going off in their wide receiver group, Randy Moss was on the team at this time. So this is around the time that year when they almost went undefeated. And Randy Moss, he's been the man everywhere he's been. He's like, he couldn't believe what he just saw. So he asked some of the other guys on the team who have been on the team for some time. He said, yo, Bill Belichick talks to Tom Brady like that? Because Randy Moss wasn't used to anybody calling out the star. And they all said, Belichick talks to everybody like that. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. Nobody is an exception. And that's what they call the Patriot way. Y'all know anything about the NFL? They called it the Patriot way at that time. Everybody gets held accountable by the exact same standard. My question to all of you is, this is an open question. What is Shedeur Sanders going to do when the coach talks to him like that? Because it's going to happen. His quarterback coach, his position coach, his offensive coordinator, his head coach, maybe even one of his teammates is going to say something to him about what he's doing or what he's not doing, and it's going to be right to his face, like men do. I'm assuming that's exactly how it is in the football locker room. I'm assuming the football locker room is probably a lot more, even more masculine than a basketball locker room. I'm assuming just by the nature of the game and because there's a lot more people. And you got guys in there who do nothing but grunt work. Their whole job is grunt work. Offensive linemen, that's all they do is grunt work. Ain't nothing pretty about being an offensive lineman. One of them is going to call him out. He's going to get called out right to his face. What is he going to do? I doubt anybody called him out when he was at Colorado. How you going to call him out? You're going to be off the team. His coach ain't calling him out. We know that. So this guy ain't never been called out. What's he going to do the first time somebody calls him out? And you got $100 million on this kid. What is he going to do? I don't want to put $100 million on finding out. I'll let somebody else find out. You find out. If I end up being wrong, all right, you got me. That's just my position. Y'all tell me if y'all see it different. All that said, folks, let's get to the comments. All right. All that being said, let's get to the comments. And I'm going to start over on Rumble and YouTube. And I see some comments coming from Rumble. I don't usually get comments from Rumble, but let's see what we got. Then I'm going to go to Instagram. Then we'll come over to TikTok where there's a lot of activity. So those of y'all watching on TikTok, make sure you follow my YouTube channel. That's where you can see the replay to this. It's the link in my profile. And also follow me on Instagram. That's also in my profile. O-Dog says, Jake Lang was an idiot from the first time Whitlock interview of him. People fall for the Christian thing because someone says they are. I was irritated that Whitlock fell for it. Well, Whitlock was saying that he liked Jake Lang, that he was his friend or something like that. That was what Whitlock was saying. And I even posted to Whitlock, like, yo, this dude sounds crazy. Like, this dude is not a leader. He doesn't have leadership. He does not have the tools to be a leader, but he's trying to lead. That's why nobody followed him. So we'll see what he keeps doing. He seems to be very bold in his position, so I don't think we heard the last of him. Boss Death said Deion was a brilliant football player. Yes, he was. That's why he's my favorite player. I Black Santa co-signed. Good morning. Boss said Deion was undeniable talent. Yes, he was. That's why he went top 5. I mean, when you're undeniable, usually you're a top 5 pick. Shedeur ain't the top 5. He ain't undeniable. His teammate was undeniable. O-Dog says Deion was a generational athlete, probably one of one. I don't believe we'll ever see another corner that talented. Teams could tower his nonsense because there was a net positive. Yes, and at the same time, this is what I didn't even get into. When you're a wide receiver or a defensive back, like wide receiver like Terrell Owens or Randy Moss or your Deion Sanders, you have such little impact on all the other players on the team that you can be a diva. You can be all about you. You can be an attention-drawing jerk. It's okay because you're just a wide receiver. There's only so much impact you have on the wide receiver has no impact on the defensive line or the safeties or the running backs or the offensive line. All you control is when the ball gets thrown to you. The ball don't get thrown to you, you have no impact on the game. So you can carry yourself like that because you're not affecting the rest of the team. If you're a quarterback, you're affecting everybody because the quarterback messes up. Now the defense got to come back on the field. The offensive line they can only block for so long. You keep holding on to the ball. Now you're making them look bad because they are giving up sacks, but it's really on you. The running backs, the wide receivers, everybody's affected by the quarterback. So the quarterback can't be a diva because you got to lead everybody. A wide receiver can be a diva. So when Cam Newton became a diva, his career ended. You can't be a diva when you're a quarterback. You can't do that. You got to be more like Tom Brady. You got to be the kind of guy when you walk in the room, everybody respects you because they see you showing up. You're the first guy there. You're the last guy to leave. And the way you present yourself, it should look like everything that you're doing is all about being the best quarterback possible. It should look like that. The optics matter. These optics matter. Shedeur Sanders' optics are, I'm coming into the NFL. I'm quote unquote already rich. I got on all the gold chains. I'm the man, but you ain't that talented. That's the problem. Again, he can't copy Deion for 2 reasons. Number 1, Deion wasn't no quarterback. And number 2, you ain't got your dad's talent. So he's coming in with this persona that he has not earned through his talent. And that's a problem. And the rest of the locker room is looking at this kid like, yo, who are you? You haven't done anything. And you're carrying yourself like a wide receiver. If Shedeur Sanders was a wide receiver, everything he's doing would be cool. We wouldn't even be talking about it if he was a wide receiver. The fact that he's a quarterback, that's what makes it an issue. So let's continue. Boss Death said, NFL execs ain't really feeling Shedeur like that. Well, we see that. He's going to get picked anyway. Somebody's going to pick him. It's just that they don't have to make as big of an investment. Like I told you, it's one thing to pay $250,000 for a Toyota Camry. It's another thing to pay $25,000. For $25,000, I'll accept it, but I ain't paying $250 for a Camry. Boss that said Cam Newton was a beast. Yes, he was. Cam had a strong ass arm. He did. He just wasn't always very accurate. That became more obvious as he lost his athleticism. He could not keep his career going based on his fundamental skill. When he lost his athletic talent, his fundamental skill was not enough to save his career. That happens to a lot of people who are very athletic in sports. When their athleticism goes, they can't quite stick around. Allen Iverson, another example. Now, compare that to somebody like Michael Jordan. When he could no longer jump over everybody, he was still good because he learned how to dominate from the floor. Kobe Bryant, same thing. He couldn't jump over everybody anymore. He could still dominate from the floor. But then there's a bunch of other players who, when they lost their physical athleticism, they pretty much didn't have much left. Allen Iverson is a great example. Cam Newton's another example. There's a bunch of examples. Cam was one overall. That's what I thought he was. Boss says Shedeur doesn't have Cam arm strength or legs or his size. Cam Newton was a big dude. Cam Newton, how much was Cam Newton when he played? Like 260? Cam Newton was like LeBron James size. Cam Newton was a big guy at quarterback. He was like a linebacker playing quarterback. O-Dog said Cam dresses like Peter Pan and Rufio. Yeah, he does now. It's fine now. He don't play no more. But when he was playing doing that, it was a distraction. Boss says Shedeur at best is Champ Pennington, at worst Teddy Bridgewater. That's what some people say, so we'll see. We will see. So LaMelo was the third pick. Same draft. Anthony Edwards was number 1. Okay, great. James Wiseman number 2. Yeah, James Wiseman. That didn't turn out too well. He's still in the league. Boss says if Travis Hunter don't get injured, he'll be a Hall of Famer. Well, see, that's why he's the number 2 pick. I mean, I don't even watch football that closely, but if you're the number 2 pick, I'm assuming everybody has agreed that you're very, very talented. Boss said Floyd was a brilliant boxer. Yes, he was. Goldie said Brony is hilarious. He had his moments. I remember more Adrian Broner saying funny shit on the microphone than actually doing brilliant shit in the boxing ring. He is a very good boxer. But I'm saying the stuff that he said on the mic overshadowed the stuff he did in the ring and actually hitting people, which is the actual job. Floyd Mayweather talks a lot of shit too, but I remember more Floyd actually doing something in the ring as opposed to talking shit. Broner's shit talk overshadowed his actual boxing. That's a problem. It shouldn't happen that way. Goldie said Brony had a lot of potential, but he didn't take it serious. Floyd was disciplined to the highest degree. He didn't play about his craft and preparation. Right. And also, people got to understand, Floyd had at the end of Floyd's career, he was fighting maybe once or twice a year. So his last 15 or so fights was after he fought De La Hoya. That's when he really became a star, generally. He became a star with the De La Hoya fight. And after that, he only fought 10, 15 more times after that. So Floyd, before that, he became money after the De La Hoya fight, right? So he was pretty boy before that. He was pretty boy because nobody could hit him. And Floyd was building up the substance. He was a fighter of substance for 35 fights. Then he beat De La Hoya. Then he started calling, and then it was the retirement thing. He came back and he started calling himself Money Mayweather. That was only the end of his career that a lot of people remember. But at the beginning of his career, Floyd was all substance. If you watch Floyd's fights, all his fights are on YouTube, by the way. I watched every single one of them. You watch all Floyd's fights from his career. At the beginning of his career, Floyd was very aggressive. He would go out and knock people out. He was knocking people out when he first started. He stopped doing that, as much, because first of all, to take less punishment. Secondly, because he had issues with his hands. So anyway, Broner, he was coming out with the Floyd attitude before he had done the Floyd work. So Goldie, what you're saying is exactly what I'm saying. Boss said Tom Brady the GOAT. Yes, many believe. Fashion Roadman said, sometimes sports aren't a perfect science. A lot of players good enough get overlooked. Such as who? So Fasho said, before the NBA was three-point focused, there were good shooters who didn't make the league in the back to the basket area, especially bigs. Like who? Who are you talking? Give me some names. Fashion Roadman. I'm not sure I'm following what you're saying, but if you give me some names, maybe I can agree with you. But I need some examples. Noble Life, good morning to you. Yeah, CB4. I think CB4 is a good what's the word? Example of what Dion looked like. Phenomenal fatherhood said Cam still does it to this day. Shout out to Philly. Yeah, it's okay for Cam. Cam do whatever he wants now. He don't play no more. When he was playing, this was a problem. Nowadays, he can do whatever he wants. But you can't do that when you're playing. All right, let's see if we can make it through this comment without me going to the restroom. Or maybe I should go to the restroom. Let me see. We got 35 minutes. I'm going to try to make it without going to the restroom. I need to go, but I'm going to see if I can make it. Tonio says Steelers are stupid AF for not picking him up. But they might get him today. If nobody else picks him, they might still get him. So, again, they just pay a lower price. If you can pay $10 for something, why pay $50? ALS says, how is he going to be when someone else coaches him? He may throw a tantrum or shut down. Yeah, and that's what I don't want to gamble $100 million on. Not a lawyer said, I don't think the ball hold also has to do with having Travis on the other end too. Yeah, that's part of it because he had a really good wide receiver. He's trying to give him time. The thing is, if you're going to hold the football as a quarterback, you got to be talented enough to run away from the defensive linemen who are chasing after you before you throw the damn ball. You can't do that. He can't do it, let me say. Mike Vick can do it. You saw Mike Vick. You saw Randall Cunningham in his athletic years. You saw Cam Newton. They can just run away from you and you can't catch them. But if you ain't that quick, you can't do it. You try to run away, they caught you. Tom Brady had Randy fucking Moss on his team. Randy Moss is better than Travis Hunter. And Tom Brady still got rid of the ball because Tom Brady can't run. And he didn't try. He got rid of that damn ball. And Tom Brady got, 7 Super Bowls? And he only had Randy Moss for 1 or 2 years? And he still won 7 Super Bowls. He didn't even have anybody that talented. Theo said, that's better than throwing anything like Cam Ward. What do you mean? David said, Dart better than him. Yeah, we'll see. Now the lawyer said his dad calls him out on the field. I'm sure he's called him out before. What I'm saying is, what I'm really talking about is the way that he projects it. Like, there are coaches out there, if their son is on the team, the coach will call their son out, not only on the field where you can't hear it, but also in the media. In the media, all Deion did was praise his son. And maybe that's just the way he wants to do it. The thing is, that's what people see. People see that praise, and it comes across as bad optics. Colby said, I think you meant racial ideology, not racial idolatry. No, I meant racial idolatry. Racial idolatry is what we call it. It's when you idolize race. That's what it means. So if you put your race before anything else about you, you're idolizing your race. That's what that title means. Oak Levy said, you don't know what he says to him behind the scenes. What are you talking about? I'll just explain that. O'Leary said, LeBron did that with Bronny. He did what? Chief said, number 4 with the Packers. Who was that? Oh, you talking about Brett Favre? Heron said, Deion tried to tell the media what teams were allowed to draft him. How'd that work out? Yeah, see, all that was a red flag. Deion was talking too much. Deion was just talking to. He was talking as if he was going to basically dictate to the NFL what to do, and he got backlash. Again, energy is contagious. The energy you put out is the energy you get back. Everything has a cost. So Deion talking all that shit, the cost was he cost his son some money up front because he's going to make less money in his first contract because of where he's getting drafted. And Deion was doing most of the talking. Again, I didn't hear Shedeur say nothing. This is Deion. Dr. J said, true, my dad, coach, me and you are right. Yes, exactly. The dad will make sure that he goes out his way to make sure everybody else knows, like, yo, I'm not showing favoritism to my kid. Buzzle said, I coached my daughter's soccer team. I was tougher on her than the other girls. Exactly. Tonio said, Cam Ward is not going to be what everyone thinks. All right, we'll see. I mean, that's why the draft is an inexact science. Paul Gardner said, what you're talking about, he do call him out. I'm talking about the optics in public is what I'm talking about. Dat Rugged said, no one ever taught you to read the room. Actually, I'm very good at reading rooms. Comment section doesn't count as reading the room generally because most of you, I don't even know your real name or your real face. And people talk crazy in comments just to get attention. So it just worked. Marky Mark said honesty right there. Davis said he did nothing to get his number retired. His dad is trying so hard for people to think he is good. I didn't like the jersey retirement thing. That was not a good thing because there are other players who were better than him and were better a long time ago, never got retired. They retired these guys like a month or 2 after they finished playing, which is crazy. Waker user said, I'd rather him be holding on to the ball and not be able to put the ball where it needs to be on time. But you can't just hold on to the ball in football, Waker user. I don't know if you watch football. You hold on to the ball, you're going to have a 300-pound defensive lineman smashing you in the fucking grass. So you hold on to the ball if you want to. You get about 3 seconds to get rid of that ball, especially in the NFL, where the players are all fast and they're all athletic. I think you might want to get rid of that ball. You get hit a couple times, you'll change your mind. Colby said, I already said that one. I already answered that. So some of you are saying he does call him out. All right, I've addressed that. Giant said, SMH, you hating. Didn't I already address this hating thing? Y'all, if you are a grown man or woman, you got to stop using this term hating anytime you hear criticism. So Fashion says, just catching up. Dejan, I don't even know who that is. Sergio Lul, I remember him. I've seen Sergio can cook USA basketball teams over and over again. But the thing is, it's different when you're playing not on an NBA roster. I mean, how many players you've seen playing for their national team play against the NBA and be amazing? there was some player, like I saw Francisco Garcia, who played at Louisville. He played in the NFL NBA for several years. He was playing for, I think it was a Puerto Rico team. He was looking like damn LeBron on a Puerto Rico team. He's not LeBron in the NBA though. So how somebody looks on an international team playing against the USA is not, that's not a good enough example. Fashion Roadman, I get what you're trying to say, but that's not a good enough example. It's what you do in the NBA. You got to do it when you're on an NBA team in that setting with other NBA players on the court with you, and you're on their team and playing against them. What do you do then? It's a different world when you're playing on the international team. Rudy Fernandez from Spain. Again, he was looking like damn Kobe on the Spanish national team against USA. He wasn't looking like Kobe in the NBA. In the NBA, he was like a seventh or eighth man who could make threes, and that's all he could do. Boss that said Travis Hunter jersey, yes, but Shedeur, no. Even Travis Hunter, again, Colorado has other players who have been great who didn't get retired. Travis Hunter got retired the same year. It just didn't look right. And Deion couldn't do Travis and not do his son. Because then, again, these are all red flags. All these things Deion did set his son up for this. Traditional said Deion is very cocky, which is actually fine, Traditional. You can be cocky if you can back up your cockiness. Floyd Mayweather, cocky. Deion as a player, cocky. I mean, it's hard for a coach to be cocky because you ain't playing. So that's why I say he's talking too much. He's talking way too much as a coach because you can't actually play. The players got to play. Call Me Luis says, what does this rant has to do with the kid's talent? Everything that I've said. Have you been listening since the beginning? B. Butch said he was a good college quarterback. That's all he was. Well, we'll see. I mean, Tom Brady wasn't that amazing in college himself. But in the NFL, we saw what he became. Laker said, bro, you hating right now. Yes, I just told you I'll stop using this word hating. Tyra said it's called constructive criticism. Yes, anybody can be constructively criticized. You don't have to accept it. You don't even have to listen, but it's not hate. I don't hate my first favorite athlete. So how can I hate him? I don't hate him. Fashion said he's won FIBA MVP, EuroLeague, all-decade EuroLeague team. What else does he need? Well, if you're saying he can play in the NBA, he got to play in the NBA and do it. That's what you got to do. Just because you did it in the EuroLeague does not mean you'll do it in the NBA. I mean, how many examples have you seen of that? They're not directly translatable. Its Prophet said, you saying this like you be with Deion and his son all day. How am I saying it that way? I'm explaining it from the perspective of the person who watches, the same way you are. EuroLeague all-time leader in three-pointers made. That's great. What that got to do with the NBA? David says, seems like he is big-headed and has not proven nothing yet. Well, that's the impression that he's given off, is that it's not that he hasn't proven anything. Everybody who got drafted hasn't proven anything. None of them have proven anything. That's why they're getting drafted. They're getting drafted on spec that they might be good, because not every draft pick ends up good. But it's the way his father has apparently enabled him that makes it look bad, and how things look determine where you get drafted. It looks bad. That's why he didn't get drafted. Yesterday, at least. Carlo said, new rules, critiquing is not hate. It was actually old rules, Carlo. This is the rules that we all grew up with. I don't know when this hating thing, when did hating become a term? When did people start saying hating? Everybody's hating. Probably like 2000, maybe like 25 years ago, this became a term. All of a sudden, any criticism was called hate. I understand if somebody's 16 saying hate, but if you're 36 saying that you're hating, that doesn't make sense to me. David, thank you for the follow. Thanks for the follow, everybody who was following me while I'm talking. Hip Hop Gives Back says Shedeur has delivered. What are you talking about? What did he deliver? What did he deliver? Colorado was barely over 500 between his 2 years there. They went to the bowl game. They lost the bowl game. What did he deliver? They were terrible before Deion and his people arrived, and they were better than average while they were there. It's not like they won a championship. They were nowhere close. So what did he deliver? So Fashion says a lot of EuroLeague players don't pan out in the NBA, but the point is he is good enough to play in the NBA, just didn't get a chance in the first place. His play was in the era was stigma against Euro players. Well, I understand that some Euro players may not have even gotten their shot, but understand if a player is good enough, they still get their shot. So there are players from that era who still got a chance. Sabonis, Drazen Petrovic, Sarunas Jasikevičius. In this current era, you got somebody like Luka Doncic. You can get a shot. The thing is, and I've explained this in videos years ago, Fashion, that a lot of players who play in Europe don't even want to take the chance to come to the NBA because, first of all, you got to give up your European contract and they're going to replace you with someone else. So you might leave a very good situation as far as lifestyle, team, everything fit. You're taking a risk on the NBA. You know you're probably not going to be the man in the NBA. So you go from being a man playing in Spain or in the Euro League to being like the 8th guy on the NBA roster. Why would you do that? What's the point? Just to say you played in the NBA? You can make more money, have a better situation, and more stability if you stay in Europe rather than even trying to go to the NBA. That happens with Americans and Europeans who don't come over to the NBA. I'm not questioning if you're saying the guy's good enough. Could he have made a roster had he tried? Sure. Now, would he be the man the same way you're listing his stats? No. Most of them are not. The only one we've seen come close, well, a couple of them, we got Jokic, you got Wemby, you got Luka. Nowadays, you're seeing more players being able to do it. So I agree with you on the stigma has been completely, for the most part, erased. But even in that era, again, the couple guys you named, they weren't superstars in the NBA. They were role players. And that's for a reason. Nicholas says, team don't want Dion micromanaging Shedeur if they draft him on the team. Yeah, exactly. So, and Dion, who's to say Dion won't leave Colorado and go become the coach of whatever team Shedeur gets on? What team wants to have Dion breathing down their coach's neck? Maybe some of them do. DR said the Steelers needed a quarterback and they passed on him. That's hate. Well, DR, let's address that. NFL teams are in what business? Are they in the business of hating? No, they're in the business of winning. So if the Steelers passed on him, then there's a reason they passed on him. I don't think the reason is, hey, we need a quarterback. There's a quarterback. We need somebody who can help us. He can help us. But you know what? We hate him, so let's not pick him. Is that what happened? I don't think so. So again, it's soothing to the ego to call anything that goes against your desires hate. But does it actually achieve anything? The answer is it doesn't. You can call it hate all you want. What does that have to do with the outcome? This is a results-based business, not a feelings-based business. Calling something hate is your feelings. Nobody cares about your feelings. Do your job. Your job is winning games. Steelers' job is winning games. If they judge that Shedeur can't help them win games the way that they want to win games, then that's a decision that they make. And if they're wrong, then Shedeur goes to whatever other team he goes to, and he proves them wrong. But he got to prove it. And in sports, you got to prove it. We could talk all day, but you got to prove it. Clapp says Shedeur is just not that good under pressure. Well, I don't think he's just that. I think the draft has shown he's just not that super talented. Now, he may end up being a very good NFL player. Let's see when he gets on the field. But he got to get on the field. 23 Stone said, this is clownish. How many great quarterbacks are drafted not in the first round? I don't know. You tell me since you brought it up. And I just said 30 seconds ago, he may end up being a very good NFL player. The fact that he doesn't go in the first round does not mean that he cannot be good in the NFL. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. It's a bunch of great players who were drafted not in the first round of their sport and ended up being great players, even superstar players. However, the reason he didn't get drafted in the first round is not because he can't play at all. He's going to get drafted. Okay, I'm not saying he can't play. He's going to get drafted, probably today. The thing is, the reason he didn't go in the first round is not because of hate. Is not because people hate his dad. Is not because people hate that he's black. It's not because people hate that he's rich. It's because of all the other red flags that I spent the last hour and a half explaining. So hopefully that answers your question. Amora said, we know there's a difference between critique and hate. Let's not play dumb here. Well, everybody knows that, but people like to call it hate because it feels good to the feelings to say that someone's hating on you rather than saying somebody's criticizing me. Because if somebody's criticizing you, you got to address the criticism. If somebody's hating on you, you could just say, oh, they hate me. So no matter what they say, I can just discredit it. But if somebody's criticizing you, you have to actually look at the criticism. And you got to sit there with it. Most people don't want to deal with criticism, so they just call it hate. And we're not even talking about any of you individually. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders, who most of us probably don't even know and never even met. How are y'all taking this personally and calling it hate? Again, this is what I meant when I said racial idolatry. So the person who's asking about the racial idolatry, this is what it means. Is when black people go and get all mad because I'm criticizing another black person. Newsflash to all you black folks. There's no such thing as trickle-down success. In other words, a black person who you watch on TV or on the internet becoming rich doesn't make you any money. And a lot of black people seem to operate as if it does. Rodrigo rejected NBA offers if he's good enough is the point. Okay, fine. Let's say he's good enough. Good enough meaning that he could be on a roster. Okay, I agree with you. Let's say whoever you're talking about. I don't even know that much about this player that you clearly know about. Okay, he could be on a roster. I will accept that point. Not everyone is in the league reflects the best in the world. Well, the NBA is the best league in the world. That is undeniable. EuroLeague is not better than the NBA. Point I was making, the sports aren't a perfect science. I'm from the UK. We know a lot of football players who don't make it because of politics, spite, and unquestionable talent. Well, I can't speak on soccer. I will speak on the sport that I know very well, which is basketball. and that it's the closest thing to a meritocracy we'll get. And you're saying it's not a perfect science it's a great escape point that you're making, Fashion, to say nothing is a perfect science. So that you're not really saying anything when you say that. I say it's the closest thing to a meritocracy that there is, meaning the best performers end up at the top spots. That's the closest place in the world you're going to get that is in professional sports, period. Now, is it a perfect science? No, but nothing's a perfect science. So to say that sports is not a perfect science is not really a point. Almost happened to Jamie Vardy. Okay, fine. I mean, I'm sure you can name exceptions. I said this earlier. I don't know if you've been watching the whole time. Exceptions prove the rule. The fact that you can name these people that you're saying they were quote unquote good enough, these are the exceptions. Let's just assume that you're right. These exceptions prove the rule. They don't disprove it. Jamie Vardy's equivalent of someone entering NBA age of 29, dominating to the point that he becomes a Hall of Famer. Well, he would have to actually do it. All right, you asserting it doesn't prove it. That's the other thing about sports is you got to prove it. We can talk all day. You got to prove it. Jay Rocket said, can't say anything about him until he actually gets drafted and played. That's not true. We can say a lot about him. We can say a lot about him. That's the whole point of social media is to talk about shit. David said, best, most honest take I've heard so far. Actually changed my opinion. Instant follow. Well, thank you, David. I'm not even in the business of changing anybody's opinion, but I appreciate that. Glad I was successful. I wasn't trying to, but glad. David said, best at running away in the ring. Who are you talking about? You talking about Floyd Mayweather? Anybody who says Floyd Mayweather ran around in the ring does not understand boxing. I remember hearing people say that before I really understood boxing until I did a lot of boxing training. After I did boxing training, I realized that, first of all, it's damn near impossible to run away in a boxing ring. The ring ain't that big. You can't run away. And secondly, when you understand boxing and then you watch Floyd's fight, you realize he wasn't running at all. He was just sticking and moving. He's one of the best ever at it. Paul said he called him out multiple times, watched Well-Off Media. Again, I'm not saying he never did it. R. Hopkins said he should humble himself. Well, he should have been humbled by his father. He's a grown man now. So, again, what people are questioning is this even changeable? That's the problem. It'd be one thing if he was 12 years old. He's like 21. Tyler said, John's interview said it all attitude, low leadership, and accountability. Well, that's what people are saying about him. That's one of the things. We'll see when he gets on the field. That's the good thing about sports is that we could talk all day. You still get your chance on the field. That's why I love sports, that people don't have to like you. They can think you're this, that, and the third and talk shit about you like what we're talking about right now. People can talk all the shit they want about Shedeur. Eventually, he's going to get on the field, and all that talk don't matter, and we'll see what he does on the field. So he still has a chance to prove everybody wrong by doing it on the field. That's the great thing about sports, as opposed to the corporate world, where if somebody doesn't like you in corporate, you might never even get your chance. That's why I love the sports world. So for those of you who don't understand, my background is as a pro athlete. What I love about sports is that eventually everybody got to stop talking and sit down in the bleachers and the players get to play. And if you can play, it doesn't matter if nobody likes you. So Shedeur, that's what he still has that working for him. So O-Dog said, people have no idea what they're looking at when they watch boxing. Yes, most people don't quite understand it. I didn't understand it. And I used to think that what people used to say about Floyd, he just runs, he runs. And then when I got in the boxing ring and actually realized, like, you can't run. When you're fighting somebody who can actually fight, you can't run. If you're really trying to run, you can't. Ain't nowhere to go. You're just going to get beat up. And Floyd never got beat up. So people really need to understand boxing and really understand what he was doing. Jason said, dude in Mexico knock out Mayweather. What dude? Who are you talking about? Tyler said, if his last name wasn't Sanders, he'd be an undrafted free agent. No question. That's interesting. Truly said Dolphins should take him. That would be interesting. I mean, their quarterback, he keeps getting hurt, right? Joseph said, you make good sense. Thank you. David said he's a distraction to the locker room. He's all about himself and trying to flaunt his money. Well, he did that in college. Again, he probably can't do that in the NFL because everybody got money. So it's not going to work in the NFL. That's the reason why there are so many questions. Like, what is this guy going to do in the NFL? Because everybody's getting paid in the NFL. So who are you? And again, he's like 21. Many of the players he's going to play with got more money than he got. So he ain't showing anything to them. You try to show off your money to somebody got more money than you, you look stupid. So what is he going to do? That's the problem. Santana said, did he say Shedeur not that good? Let's wrap this up, buddy. Don't know ball. I didn't say that, Santana, first of all. Number two, I said he is not talented enough to where the red flags get ignored like they did with, for example, Allen Iverson. And knowing ball, quote unquote, a lot of people like to use this term, especially in basketball, knowing ball. All right. Knowing ball, what does that mean? Most of the time people say knowing ball, what they're using it as is as a pejorative, meaning I disagree with your opinion, so I'm just going to discredit you as a person. But if you actually disagree with my opinion, then tell me what I got wrong. That's what you should actually do. Instead of trying to discredit me as a person, just tell me what I got wrong. Instead of saying I don't, quote unquote, know ball. And what are the requirements of knowing ball? Usually when someone says you don't know ball, it just means they disagree with your perspective. But if I said something that you wanted to hear, you would say, oh, you know ball, you're amazing. So you're not really saying anything. That's a childish frame. Big Antoine said, boy, that was funny at hell at the time. What are you referring to? The bearded chef said, we don't know what is going on. Dion said early in the process they will be picky where he go. Dion's not in control of the process right now. Bearded chef. He said that a year or so ago when he felt like his son was basically holding all the cards. His son ain't holding the high cards anymore, as we can see. Now, if he was a top 5 pick, then he could kind of start dictating like Eli Manning. He ain't that, so he can't dictate anymore. So now he goes where he goes. Let's see. I'm not going to get through all these comments today here. I'm telling y'all that right now, so I'm just picking and choosing. Sales New York said Browns will take him. All right, we'll see. Solomon said Sanders' biggest game didn't show up. Kyle's biggest games matter. Okay. Fair enough critique. Sales said the Sanders made some huge mistakes. Well, it wasn't the Sanders. It was just Dion. Again, it wasn't his son. It was Dion. If Dion did things differently, his son would have followed his dad's lead. Obviously, he follows his dad's lead. So his dad set him up for this. Now, his dad thought he was setting him up to be a top 5 pick, and we're going to dictate everything, and that didn't work. So Dion just bet, and he lost. So now people talk about betting on yourself. This is one of those examples when somebody bets on themselves and they lose. But you're not going to hear anybody say Deion Sanders and his son bet on themselves because they lost. You only hear about betting on yourself when they win. This is an example of somebody betting on themselves and losing. But again, you're not going to hear anybody say that. Payo says, stick to politics, dog. You doing too much. Are you talking about me? I have no background in politics. P-E-Y-A-E-A-U. I have no background in politics. I do have a 9-year career in professional sports, however. So if I should stick to anything, it should actually be sports. Andrewski said he should just have shut his mouth and worked hard. Well, it wasn't Shedeur that was talking. It was Dion talking. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if your dad's talking for you? You going to tell your dad to shut up? I don't think their relationship works that way. Solomon said that's his son. You can't tell a man what he can do for his own son. Fair enough. I'm not telling him. I'm not talking to Dion right now. We're talking about him. And again, I just said, had it worked out, everybody would be singing his praises right now. Since it didn't work, now he looks foolish. Tyler said, anyone who watched the BYU game know why he wasn't drafted last night. Okay. It's the shoes that LeBron did it. He did what? Andrea Moore said, you must not have kiddos. I do. So, Andrea, you are incorrect. Someone said, you can't tell a man what to do with his son. I already addressed that. I'm not telling him what to do with his son. David said, this isn't the Little League where you can put your son on the All-Star just because of the NFL. Now, again, his son can play. His son's not a bum. This is not like Bronny James. His son can actually play. But we're going to see when he gets to the NFL what he does. He's just not that talented. That's the issue. Like, LeBron got his son into the NBA. His son would not have even tried to enter the draft if his dad wasn't LeBron. Shedeur Sanders, even if his dad wasn't Dion, could have entered the NFL draft this year and still got picked somewhere. It just wouldn't be news because his dad wasn't Dion. He would get picked. He can play. We're not saying he's a bum. Let's not go overboard here. Solomon said, wait, so are you saying Shedeur can't be coached? So those of you who follow my live streams consistently, y'all know what this is. Y'all should be able to pick this one out by now, right? Wait, so are you saying? What is that a tell for? That's a tell for the straw man. Straw man is when someone takes what they thought they heard me say or what they know I didn't say, and then they rephrase it into something that I did not say, and then they pose it to me as a question as if that's what I said, and then they ask me to address it. So, Solomon, you win with the first straw man of the day, at least the first one that I saw. I did not say that, so I don't even have to address that question. What I did say, I'm sure you heard it, so watch the replay on my YouTube channel. Trey Mickles said, bro, just talking. Well, I am just talking. Yes, I am just talking. That's correct. Ocean Love said, Billy Belichick is well under 500 without Brady. Okay, well, quarterback's the most important position in sports. What do you think? Jack says Shedeur thinks he's bigger than the game. Well, we'll see when he gets to the NFL. Anything could change. Kim said that's why he didn't get picked. No one wants to deal with that. Well, he's going to get picked. All right, all y'all got to understand, that was just the first round. He's going to get picked. He'll be on somebody's team. We're going to see when he plays in the NFL what he does. It's not like he's not going to get picked at all. Boss that said, I don't want that bum on my fins. All right. Well, we don't know. Let's not speak too soon. I'm just talking about the red flags that cause him to drop from the first round. He might end up being a very good NFL player. So don't none of y'all dance on his grave yet. All right. He's going to get on a team, and we're going to see when he plays. O-Dog says, Shedeur's living off his last name. Deion has done him a disservice, in my opinion, akin to what LeBron did. Yes, well, Shedeur is good enough to make the NFL on his own. All right. Now, LeBron James' son should not be in the NBA. Fashion says, hard to assess Bronny's NBA talent. Too good for the G League, not good enough. He's not too good for the G League. Fashion, what are you talking about? No such thing as being too good for the G League when you're in the G League. Fashion, you're getting out over your skis now saying something like that. We already talked about Bronny James already. I did a live where I discussed that. Bronny James did well in the G League, it appears. The issue is not what he did in the G League. It's, first of all, who gives a damn about G League stats? Nobody. This is the first time I ever heard anybody talking about G League stats was Bronny James. Nobody cares about what you do in the G League. Purpose of the G League is to get it to the NBA. And you only go there because you're not quite ready for the NBA. Bronny James got drafted to an NBA team because of his father. All right, that's undeniable. What he ended up doing in the G League does not change the reality that the only reason he entered the draft is because his dad's presence guaranteed he was going to get drafted. If Bronny James' name was Bronny Smith, he would not have left college last year. He would have stayed in college because nothing about his college performance said he's ready to play in the NBA. But again, I'm not going to go over that subject again. So any of you leaving comments about Bronny, we're not doing that here today. I already did it. Watch the replay on my YouTube channel. Darky said, why do we assume Shedeur can't handle coaching? So there's another straw man. We're not assuming it. We're asking questions. I'm not assuming anything. I'm asking a question. He's only been coached by his father his whole life, and it's clear that his father has entitled him to do things that he didn't hold the rest of the team accountable for. That is a legitimate question. Even you should be able to admit that. Truly Blessed said he's not the best or the worst, but he would rather take chips and stream COD than study the game. We'll see. We'll see when he gets to the league. Trey said, I already answered that one. G1 Press said he spent most of his time being coached by the quarterback coach, not his father. Well, we'll see. How do you know that? Jack said he's falling to the third round. Maybe he will. He's a distraction that I wouldn't want on my team. Well, it depends on how he shows up, Davis. If he shows up in a way that he's not being a distraction, then it's different. It depends on how he shows up. Now, if he's showing up with the jewelry on and doing all the stuff he was doing in Colorado, then it does become a distraction because he hasn't earned that right to do that yet in a room with 70 other guys who are already pros. That's the problem. Oh, so you said SMAs, it be your own people. What are you referring to? Not a lawyer said, I think he'll go third or fourth round. All right, so what rounds are today and what rounds are tomorrow? It's the Amber says the same situation with Bronny and his dad. Not quite. Not quite. Shedeur Sanders is a good player. Bronny James was not ready to be drafted to the NBA. Solo says, so Shedeur going to crash out when he gets called out? That's the dumbest comment. That was not said. Again, you're straw manning, so you got to bring some higher quality intellect to your comments. I can't read any more of them. Randy said, I think Deion has probably been tougher on him. Not publicly. We haven't seen it publicly. I'm going off what we have seen publicly, not what we're guessing happened behind the scenes. Not a lawyer said, please replace Tom Brady references with Peyton Manning. Why? Eric said, bad take on him in a better situation now. Every one of his teammates love him. What team? He doesn't have any teammates. He doesn't play in college anymore. He hasn't gotten on the NFL roster yet. So what teammates? Mike said blackball. Blackball means you don't play at all, Mike. Are you saying Shedeur Sanders is not going to play in the NFL at all? That's what blackball means. Blackball does not mean you don't get drafted in the first round. Blackball means no participation whatsoever. In other words, the same thing they're saying about Colin Kaepernick. He will play. Ocean said, trash organization will pick him, maybe the Bengals or the Jets, never the good ones. Well, if they're good, why would they pick a quarterback? If you're good, you probably already got a good quarterback. Why would you pick him? Cody said, Cleveland needs to pass on Shedeur and draft 2 defensive players and tank for Manning next year. Okay. Marcus said he is that talented. He's been a winner everywhere. Imagine if he played for Alabama or Georgia. Well, we would only have to imagine Marcus has been playing for his dad the whole time we know about him. That's, again, it's a red flag. How is he going to respond to being coached by somebody other than his dad? And that's the reason why they do the interviews, is they want to find out. He's been a winner everywhere. Okay, well, his team in Colorado was barely over 500 during his 2 years there. So let's not go overboard and say he's been a winner everywhere. And he didn't win a bowl game either. So let's not go overboard with the winner thing. Cam at the Super Bowl was pathetic. Well, that's kind of when he started going the other direction. Generally, I would agree with that. All right, 5 minutes on the comments, folks. Then we're going to wrap this up. And I'm not going to get through all these comments, but I'll try to get through a few. There's a lot today. Let's see. I got to just jump to a random spot and see where I can get. Let me go down here. All right, where we are. All right, so a bunch of y'all pointed out the straw man. So y'all know about the straw man. Y'all are learning. So I'm glad I'm teaching y'all these logical fallacies. So y'all can catch them, because they're easy to catch once you learn what they are. Rock said, I'm glad he didn't go first round. He needed Humboldt. Hopefully he still has a good career. I don't think him not going to first round, it doesn't appear that he got Humboldt. You saw what his dad said on social media yesterday. He said, oh, they hate him. That's what Deion said. And it appears Shedeur is following in the lead of his father. So if his father is saying that, then if his father has said something like, hey, maybe later he'll say it. Who knows? Maybe he'll say it later. Like, this is humbling that he didn't get drafted in the first round. Now he knows he got to go out there and prove it. But that's not the angle that it sounds like Deion is coming up with right now. But we'll see. We'll see. Carlos says, so are you saying we shouldn't ask straw man questions? Yes, exactly. Racial idolatry is what I called it. Racial idolatry. That's when people focus on race when the issue has nothing to do with race. Racial idolatry. So I saw a lot of black folks saying that Shedeur Sanders didn't get drafted because he's black and rich and confident. And those are not the reasons why he didn't get drafted yesterday. He didn't get drafted because of everything I've been saying for the last damn near 2 hours. Really said, seems like the behavior was a combo of Deion trying to prove himself as a good coach and help Shedeur. Well, I do think he was trying to help him. I do think Deion has positive intentions, but you know what they say. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Shedeur is tough. Struggle has success at 2 school with mid-level linemen. Okay, fair enough. We will see when he gets in the NFL and he gets on the field. Again, the good thing about all of this that I'm saying about them, whether you agree or disagree with me with Shedeur, please understand this. It's sports. And in the sports world, you always get a chance to prove it on the court or on the field. He will get his chance to prove it, and he can prove everybody right, wrong, or somewhere in between. Someone said, let me see. O-Dog says, Shedeur's living off his last name. I read that one. Fashion says, hard that says Bronny's NBA talent. I read that one. O-Dog said, Bronny is not too good for the G League. That's crazy to say. Yeah, it is crazy to say. Shedeur dropped because he's not a first-round quarterback, which we know now. O-Dog said, purpose of the G League is to develop big men. LOL. Most Division I Power 5 QBs have capability of playing in the NFL. That doesn't mean they're first-round talent. First-round QBs are projected to be a no-miss. Shedeur is not that. Yes, exactly. It's fair enough. You don't go in the first round doesn't mean you can't play in the NFL. It just means they're not sure yet. First rounders are like the people you know. EB said, internet is never happy. You can't be too confident. You can't be too quiet. Geesh. That's the idolatry that I'm talking about. You didn't mention race, but that's what I mean, is that someone being criticized does not mean that people don't personally like you. There are legitimate criticisms about you when you play sports, especially because everything you do is out in the open. You can't act like it didn't happen. You play basketball, you get dunked on. You can't say you didn't. If people are laughing at you for getting dunked on, they're not hating on you. They're laughing at you because you got dunked on. You got dunked on. It's right there on video. We see it. You threw an interception. We see it. Right? We can't act like it didn't happen. Just because you're being criticized does not mean they have it in for you in any way. Stray said, why put race into it? I just explained that to you. Is that a lot of black folks, specifically, when a black person that they look up to tends to not get the outcome that you want them to get, people say, oh, it's only because the person is black and they're this and they're that, when it could just be a legitimate criticism. You just happen to be black. And a lot of black people don't like hearing that, so they get mad at me for pointing it out. So they're saying Shedeur Sanders didn't get drafted because he's black. No, he didn't get drafted because there's a way that NFL teams look at players. And number one pick, who's the number one pick? Is he black? Number 2 pick, Travis Hunter, black. Cam Newton, number 1 pick, black. Allen Iverson, number 1 pick, black. LeBron James, number 1 pick, black. Black people get drafted number 1 all the time. Know why? Because they can fucking play. When you're a no-miss prospect, a can't-miss prospect, you get picked number 1 no matter what color you are. Shedeur is not a no-miss prospect. That's why he didn't get drafted in the first round. Doesn't mean he can't play. Doesn't mean he's not going to get a chance. And nobody's hating on him. Again, I could hate you. If you could help me win, I'm drafting you anyway. I don't have to like you. Can you help me make money? I own $1 billion company. Can you help me make money? Yes? Okay, I'm drafting you. I don't have to like you. Go make me some money. That's how business works, ladies and gentlemen. They don't have to like you. And especially in the sports world, when you play. We're talking about playing, not coaching, not management, playing. Let's see. Jimmy said he will be good for the second team he plays for. Okay, a couple more comments, then we're wrapping this up, folks. Cincinnati has Jay Burrow. They don't need a quarterback. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We'll see. That's it. Skelly said, look who has needed a quarterback, how much money they have locked into that position. Well, quarterback's the highest paid position, so everybody gets paid. Carla, thank you for the lit up finger heart. I don't even know what that is, but thank you. So everybody, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I stop at 10 a.m. We're at 10 a.m., so I'm going to stop this. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. If you like this one, come back on Monday. I'm talking about a different subject. So no matter what subject I say, people say, why are you always talking about that? If I talk about Trump, they're like, why are you always talking about Trump? I ain't talked about Trump for 4 days, but guess what? Next time I talk about Trump, somebody's going to be like, oh, all you do is talk about Trump. Remember people saying that on Monday? All you do is talk about Trump. I ain't talking about Trump the rest of the week. But I guarantee you next time I talk about Trump, somebody's going to say, you always talking about Trump. So sometimes I talk about race. Sometimes I talk sports. Sometimes it's sex. Sometimes it's relationships. Sometimes it's a current event. Sometimes it's Trump. Trump is a catch-all. So if I can't talk about anything else, we'll talk about Trump. Why? Because it draws attention. I'm kind of joking when I say that, but it does. It draws attention. That's why I talk about him sometimes. And all of you have an opinion. That's why I talk about him. But anyway, we don't know what the topic is going to be yet. We know we need to get to this. We're going to talk about the Shannon Sharp thing again. That will come up again. Don't know when. We're going to talk about this black kid stabbed the white kid in Texas. We're going to talk about that again. We're going to talk about this student loan forgiveness thing. That will come up again. And something's going to happen with Donald Trump. That's going to be a subject again as well. So all of those things are coming. We don't know what. It depends on what happens today and over the weekend. Monday, it doesn't matter. If you like me and you like my approach, whether you loved it or hate it, but it entertained you and kept your attention for 2 hours, come back on Monday. We'll be talking about more topics again on Monday. And again, you want to learn more about working with me directly outside of this stuff, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is in my profile. The replay to this live is on my YouTube channel. I'm live on YouTube over here. Shout out to YouTube. The replay will be on YouTube. My link is in my profile on TikTok. My Instagram link is in my profile on TikTok as well. I will see everybody on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. We are out of here. Work on your game. Thank you, moderators, for keeping everything in order. I see you, Carl. I see you, Courtney. Thank you. Everybody have a great day.